Hello everyone and welcome into our latest live broadcast. It is Sunday the 15th of February 2026 and I'm CareyHolzman, and today I'm going to show you how to create your Windows 11 media installation. Now right out of the gate, let me tell you, I probably make this video once a year for the last 10 years and it's pretty much always the same. There are some minor little differences, but overall the process that I showed 10 years ago, 9 years ago, 8 years ago, 7 years ago, for some reason people can't find the videos, and for whatever reason I start getting a flood of questions out of the blue on how to do this, and that's what alerts me it's time to do it again. So for those of you that are regular viewers, prepare to see the same thing you've seen before, and for the rest of you, well, I hope you find the video helpful. There's certainly no shortage of videos on how to do this. However, as a business owner, I want to show you the right way to do it so you're legal, so you know you're not risking getting a virus, and so that you know with confidence that what you're doing is going to work and you've done it the right way. This is fully endorsed by Microsoft, though Microsoft does not know who I am. We don't have any formal relationship. My career relies on me knowing this, or I'll be looking for another job. So if you want to know what it's like to work in this industry, one of the first basic things you're going to need to know is if you ever have to install Windows for a customer, how do you do that safely, securely, and legally? So for that, we're going to cover this process today. And a shout out and a thank you to our good friends Buster out there in Scotland, who sends us an Amazon gift card in lieu of Super Chat, and our friend Mark Gaines in Northern Ireland, who also sends us an Amazon gift card in lieu of Super Chat just prior to today's show starting. Thank you guys so much for that and for being members, all of our friends in green. Hope you're having a good Sunday today as we march past well, I guess it's a little past the middle of February, isn't it? And onwards and upwards. I'm expecting, we funded a Kickstarter for something called an ARC KVM, and they recently sent out an update and showing all the production. So yeah, this thing is real, and it's either that or it's a heck of a believable image as you see a whole screen of these circuit boards and such. They don't think they're going to start shipping those until around the middle of March, which likely means we won't get it till the end of March or beginning of April. But once we get it, we'll be one of the first people to have one, and I can't wait to get my hands on it and see how it compares with other KVMs on the market. Let me grab my glasses and say hello to everybody in the chat because I can't see too well. I thought I would demonstrate. I just brought out this machine here, and then we'll screen capture here with this keyboard and mouse the entire process of creating a Windows 11 media installation tool. Oh, wow. I see words now. Chris Garrett says hello. And Isaiah says hello. There's Sam Mack joining us, and Lana Dro, and Matt, Eddie Casanova, Jonathan Fells, and Sean Skinner. There's Gary Tatum, our channel administrator, Maralina, Scott Messerschmidt, and David Graham. Scott saying hello to myself, Maralina, and the cat. All right, well, the cat is not interested. She is tucked away under the bed, hiding away, being very antisocial. So my kind of cat. Let's see, we also have James Disher joining us, and Michael Lavelle, 3D Everything, and Luke Greenia. Jim Kenny says hello, as does Mark Leibowitz joining us from the Chicago area. He's also a professional working computer technician there. Alan Lindos says hello. Ben Laird from Scotland. There's Phil Stodd saying hello, and Brian Weber. Mars Man says hello. Josh Hales says hello. So who am I saying hello to? These are people that join us in our live interactive chat room, so we can talk to each other and they can talk to each other during this live show. If you're not participating in that, you're probably not going to enjoy the show half as much as when you're a part of the show. So I encourage you, if you've not been in our chat room, but you're friendly, come on in. If you're not friendly, stay out. It's a pretty simple rule. But there's plenty of room for other like-minded individuals who are always interested in forming conversation with friends. We're not here to provide you with entertainment so much as to provide you with community. So if you think watching other people in a community is entertainment, you're not going to get my videos, because that's not what they're about. But when you join us in our community, you'll understand. And we hope, if you haven't, you will consider joining us during a live video rather than watching a live replay. So right now, as I mentioned, as I am doing this live, it is February 15th. It's about a little after 1 o'clock p.m. here in Phoenix. So if you're watching on another day, clearly you missed the live show. But you can hit the subscribe and the like button, turn your notifications on so you won't know last minute or stumble onto my videos in the future. And you'd be surprised the number of friends that have been made in our chat room from all over the world that would otherwise never cross paths. So it's always tickling to my heart to see the friendships that have formed in here that have nothing to do with me other than it's the channel. You know, it's the chat room on the channel. It's the community that has developed around this that is so so different from anything else on YouTube. You're not going to get harassed in here. Everybody's welcome. Just don't be a jerk. It's a stupid thing to have to tell you. Duh. Oh, I mean, I shouldn't be a jerk? That's not good? No, it's not good. Oh, no one ever told me that before. That's the world we live in. I'm sorry. I'm sorry on behalf of the world that's what our world has become. But if you're not a jerk, come on in and say hello. We'd love to have you. There's Mortant joining us, and Steve Miller, as well as Dennis saying hello. Tony Aindow says hello. Mental says hello from Sweden. Josh mentions right now it's 7 hours ahead in the UK. So 1 o'clock Phoenix time in the UK right now is 8 o'clock p.m. in the United Kingdom. W.E. Holmes joins us and says hello. Okay, so making Windows 11 installation media is very, very, very simple. You are going to need at least, at a bare minimum, an 8 gig flash drive. Every time Microsoft Windows comes out with an update, the download gets bigger. It started at around 4.5 gig on Windows 11, and now it's up to like 6.5 gig after 22H2, 23H2, 24H2. Now we're at 25H2. Eventually, an 8 gig drive isn't going to be big enough unless Microsoft does a significant optimization and rewrite. So I have a 16 gig flash drive, and I have a very fast flash drive. I purposely spend likely 4 to 5 times more money for this flash drive than most home users will ever pay, because the speed is important to me. I will plug this into a blue USB port in order to achieve the speeds this drive is capable of, and I will do in 1/4 the amount of time whatever the home users with the cheap $2 and $3 flash drives. You'll spend 4 times longer just waiting on the data transfer to happen. That's fine for you, right? You're going to do it once every 6 months. Who cares? I'm doing it 6 times a week, sometimes more than that. So I need to get things done. This is an investment for me. And honestly, the difference between a $5 flash drive and a $25 flash drive, it's not like I have to go get a loan. So I look for the SanDisk Extreme, and I like the ones that don't have a cap. I like that I can put this in a pocket. I don't have to worry about losing the cap. I like that it's not too wide. Some of the real expensive fancy flash drives, I can't plug them in because they're too wide and they won't fit in the USB port because like a video HDMI cable or something's too close. So this meets all of my needs. Now I don't believe they make the 16 gig version of this, but for what I paid for it, you probably get a 32 gig version or something. I don't know. These things just last forever, so it's not like I have to upgrade them unless at some point 16 gig isn't enough. But given the size of Windows 11 growing, I'd say it grows by a little less than a gig every year. So yeah, a gig. So we're looking at probably a good 8 years worth of use left in this until Windows exceeds 16 gigs. We'll see. The industry could change and Microsoft could rewrite it, but if history repeats itself moving forward and keeps moving in the same way it has. I figure I got about 8 more years before I have to replace 16 gig. But 8 gig is all you really need to have. And again, it could be a cheap flash drive. You go get one of those Micro Center flash drives and just wait all day. That's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just set this right here for now. And we're going to go over to this machine and we're going to capture it. This is a streamer. This is what's broadcasting all of my video and audio to you. This guy here. This guy here has its own keyboard and mouse, and its video output goes here, which then goes to your monitor. So I'm going to borrow all of your monitors for this machine because this machine has no monitor. You understand? It's going through here and onto your monitor. So I'm the only guy in the world with 200 monitors hooked up to his computer. Let's go to this guy right here. And let me put camera 1 down in a corner so you can still see me. Okay, we'll just go right down there for now. This is just a generic install. It's something I bring out on the desk for demonstrations. And what I need to do is see it full screen the way you guys see it. Okay. Watch how easy this is. If you follow click by click everything I'm about to show you, you cannot go wrong. However, if you skip a step, if you're not paying attention, or if you decide that you want to do something different than me, you should likely expect a different result than what I'm going to show you. So if you want the result I'm going to show you, you have to follow each step, pay attention to the way I spell things, exactly what I'm clicking on. It's all you have to do is pay attention. You don't have to have any certain level of knowledge. It's just monkey see, monkey do. If you can do that, you're going to be 100% successful every single time. We're going to start by opening our browser. It doesn't matter what browser you use. I don't care. Firefox, Chrome, Edge, whatever. Don't matter. And up here, we're going to do a search. We're going to type in download Windows 11 and whoops, Windows 22. Don't do that. All right, Windows 11. And the first link that we're going to see here, let's see, Microsoft.com. That's an advertisement. Right here. Microsoft.com, English, US. For me, it's in English, right? For you, that may come up in a different region if you're in a different region. And we're going to click on that. And we can put a link to this in the video notes, by the way, this right up here. And this is from Microsoft. This is how you know you're getting a real, legitimate, authentic, virus-free piece of software. Microsoft wants you to download it. We're not getting away with anything here except getting educated, right? Microsoft puts the information out, but Microsoft doesn't do the training. So we're here to train you. Now there's a Windows 11 installation assistant, and that's if you want to upgrade to Windows 11. If you want to upgrade from Windows 10 to Windows 11, you could use this Windows 11 installation assistant. If you have a very old version of Windows 11, like 23H2, and you want to skip over 24 and go to 25H2, you can use the Windows 11 installation assistant. But that's not what we're doing today. We want to create Windows 11 installation media. The other thing we can do is we can download the Windows 11 disk image for 64-bit devices. All Windows 11 requires 64-bit processors. So we can either do the Windows 11 installation media, or we can download the Windows 11 disk image ISO. So for me, I say let's just download the ISO, and it says select your download. And there's only one option for me here. And then confirm. And it says, hey, before you download, you got to make sure you meet all these specifications, which are always the same and have been the same for a number of years. So we'll just confirm, yes, yes, yes. And then it says it wants to know our region, and we want English, United States, and confirm. Now it says verify, where is it? Links valid for 24 hours. So it's going to create a link just for you. And right here it says 64-bit download. I think that's what I click on. And if you look in the upper right corner, it says it's downloading Win11 25H2 English x64 ISO. And it's moving along pretty quick there. We have a fairly quick internet connection here at Studio C. Now, while that downloads, we're going to start another download, and it's a very small download called Rufus. So I'll hit the plus to open a new tab. I'm going to type RUFUS, and the very first link that appears should take us to rufus.ie. IE is Ireland. This is a free open source utility that comes from Ireland, or the creator lives in Ireland. And we're going to download the latest version. Now, this does get updated regularly, and what I'm showing you could visibly change in the interface, but it's still always the same. Even when it looks a little different, if they move some things, it's always the same. We want Rufus 412 or 412 Portable. They're both pretty much the same. So I'll pick 412, and it downloads instantly. See how fast that was? Now, this ISO image, this big file, you see it's 7.2 gigs. So you can understand why you need at least an 8 gig flash drive. And you want to make sure that flash drive is empty. You don't want anything on it, or you're willing to erase it, because you need the whole thing, at least if it's an 8 gig flash drive, to create the image. In fact, even on my 16 gig flash drive, I want to format this and make it bootable for Windows. So if I have data on this, it better be data I don't want or I've already copied off. If it's a brand new flash drive, you just plug it in and use it. If it's a used flash drive, make sure there's nothing on it you want. There's no other way to do this. All right, now, what I'm done here, which is almost, looks like we got about 20 seconds left, we're going to go through the process of creating the ISO image. And the reason we're doing it with Rufus instead of with Microsoft's installation media is Microsoft likes to set certain settings their way, like forcing you to create a Microsoft account. With Rufus, it allows us to turn that off in a legitimate way that isn't going to have negative consequences. So with all of that downloaded, you can see we've got both of our files. We're going to close that out. A lot of people don't know where their files go. I'll see people hit the download button 6 times because they don't understand that if you click on your little yellow folder down here, you have a little section called downloads right there. And it'll show you everything you downloaded. And then you'll see the 16 times you downloaded the same thing with little parentheses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This drives me crazy that people have no idea that they're taking things and they don't know where they're putting them. So that's called downloads. Once again, if you downloaded something and you're looking for where it went, the Windows default, if you didn't change it, is to hit that yellow folder and to go to the downloads folder right there. And there's our 2 files. I am going to double click on Rufus and we'll say yes. It says, do you want Rufus to check for application updates online? Sure, why not? And this is what Rufus looks like. Close this out. It's a pretty simple program. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plug my USB flash drive in, and I want you to watch right here where it says device. Right? I'm going to just find a blue USB port, take advantage of the speed. Give that a minute for USB to initialize with the system. And let's go down to device. Nothing yet. There it goes. See, I was being impatient. So the device is a 16 gig flash drive. It tells me SanDisk Extreme if I leave the mouse over it. Watch how easy this is. Ignore everything else. Ignore all of that. Don't worry about any of this other stuff. Right here, it says we want to do a disk or an ISO image. We're going to want to do, so just leave that alone. Nothing to deal with there. Hit the select button and find that ISO image, which is again in the downloads folder. It's only going to show files that end in .iso, which is why we're not seeing the Rufus program, because that's a .exe. It's a different file extension. So we're going to click that and click open. So all we're doing is making sure we've got the right target. That's our flash drive. And we've got the right file selected, which appears now over here. Then hit start. That's it. No other changes. Now Rufus says, hey, I just noticed this is a Windows 11 bootable image. Would you like to make some customizations to it? And I'm like, well, yes, as a matter of fact, I would. In fact, let me move camera 1 Let me just make it a little bit smaller. There we go, because I want you to be able to see all this. Do I want to remove the requirement for 4 gig of RAM, secure boot, and TPM? I would not like my identity stolen, so I'm going to say no. Remove requirement for an online Microsoft account. Yes, that's what I'm looking for. If every customer of mine was named Bob, I could just go ahead and have it automatically set the username to Bob. But because all of my clients have different names, which is so inconvenient for me, I'll just set that by hand. So I leave that alone, leave this alone, because not all my clients live in the same place. But if you're making this for yourself, you could set all this up. Disable data collection. I prefer to do this by hand. Disable BitLocker. This is a problem with Windows 11 Home where you may enable a BitLocker like encryption by default. I don't want BitLocker turned on under any circumstances. And if I change my mind, I'll do it by hand, but I will knowingly and willingly do that. I won't have it done in the background by default. So for me personally, these are the only 2 boxes I feel safe to check. And then as with regards to using the Windows CA 2023 bootloaders, that is, again, not applicable to us. If you want to know how I do it, this is how I do it, and this is why I do it this way. It's that easy. Click OK. It says, hey, we're going to delete everything on that flash drive. Are you sure you're going to, nuke this flash drive? You're okay with that? I'm okay with it. So I click OK. And then down here, we have a progress of it formatting and partitioning the flash drive. And then it'll start decompressing the ISO file and placing those files onto the flash drive. Now, this is a fast flash drive. This isn't going to take very long on your system, depending on your internet speed, depending on your flash drive speed, depending on your USB port speed. This may take longer, but not by much. So you'll see, because we're doing this in real time, this is a pretty quick routine process. Now, I use this all the time. So when I make a Windows 11 bootable media, I won't make it every time I need it. I make it once, and then I update it anytime Microsoft updates the ISO image, which traditionally has been every time a new version of Windows comes out. So Windows 11 22H2, for a whole year, I'm using the same bootable media for the whole year. On all my client PCs, all my I just have the one flash drive, use it over and over and over again. But when Windows 23H2 comes out, on the day it comes out, that's when the ISO image is updated. However, I have heard from a very reliable source, but I haven't verified, that Microsoft is now updating the ISO image every month. And they started this, I guess, last month. So all those monthly security updates are automatically being embedded into the ISO image. So you can understand that if my ISO image is from 11 months ago, let's say we did this 11 months ago, and I have 11 months of Windows updates to catch up with when I'm done. But if Microsoft is going to update the ISO every month, and they're embedding all of the updates from the previous month into it, then that means if I update once a month, I never have more than 30 days of updates that are potentially missing. Assuming that's true, and we'll find out in time. And it's a very easy thing to do. When I download the ISO image, I'm just going to keep it on my drive, on my hard drive. And then when next month comes around, I'll download the ISO image and see if the file sizes are the same. If the file sizes are different, I know Microsoft has changed it. I am not going to embed the updates myself. I'm not going to create a custom installer. I don't have the kind of time home users have, and I don't have that interest. It is an endless job, and once you start it, it never has an end. You will do that forever. And you will end up spending more time updating your Windows 11 media than you actually use it. So for me, I would much rather just hit Windows Update and walk away. And even if it's 11 months of updates, it doesn't require me to do anything. But that's my attitude, because I'm trying to make money and I'm trying to get things done and I'm trying to help other people. If you like to tinker, have fun. But I don't demonstrate that because I don't do it. I don't condone it. I don't endorse it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It doesn't fit a business model that's sustainable unless you're on a grand scale. You know, if you're selling 1,000 computers a month, that's a different story. You can save a lot of time. But for the rest of us, it's the exact opposite. You're spending way more time trying to save time than if you just left it alone and Just did the updates. But anyway, you see, we're already done with this. So we're going to hit close. And we now have a Windows 11 installation media. That's it. We're done. So if I plug this back in now and I restart this computer, let's do this. Let's do settings, Windows Update. Let's go to advanced options and we'll go to recovery and advanced startup. Let's do the advanced startup and we can instruct it that we want to start from the flash drive instead of from the internal NVMe drive. This way you don't have to worry about, is it F10, is it F12, when do I press it? You can. This just makes it so much easier because it's going to prompt you and ask you. So you don't have to worry about which key. It'll tell you where to click. You don't have to worry about when. Did I miss the opportunity? It'll wait for you indefinitely for you to answer the question. So this is a lot less stressful of a process. So in just a moment here, it's getting ready to start the advanced startup menu. And when that pops up, we're going to get some options here. And the option we want is use a device. And then there's only one device to pick from. That's our SanDisk Extreme. We click on that. And now it's going to reboot and start from the flash drive we just made, which is now bootable. And it's going to bring up the Windows 11 setup menu. And it's completely ignoring our NVMe drive. Watch. I like to call that the little toilet bowl that's flushing. Let's see, just a moment, and we should get a setup. There it is. That's all there is. It's that simple. Once you've made this, you can use it indefinitely. Eventually, it'll become obsolete. I don't make this when I need it. I make it before I need it. Once it's made, I label it so I know what it is because I got a drawer of flash drives, and I put it away. Now, if there's a new update next month, if Microsoft is, in fact, if this is true and Microsoft is updating that ISO monthly, I think it'd be worth my time to go ahead, because it's so fast, it's so easy, and just start all over again. Put the same flash drive in, let it erase it, go through the exact same process with the newer ISO image, and now whatever the updates were that came out in the last month or the last time I made this, if in fact that is true, then I won't have to sit through all those updates. It'll just be that much faster after Windows is installed to getting any recent updates. But that's up to you to decide. Because again, I just typically make this once a year. And the older it gets, the more time goes by, the more updates I'm missing. It doesn't matter to me. I just hit the Windows Update button and I walk away. Like, I don't know. I'm here trying to make a living, and time is money. So I don't understand the impatience of a home user that complains about how long Windows Update takes. It goes right over my head because they're not charging anybody. It's not costing them anything. Who cares? But just because I don't get it doesn't mean it's wrong. But for me, it's got to scale to a point that, am I spending more time to, manually keep updating, or am I spending more time trying to embed everything by hand? I'm not embedding everything by hand. It's a job that will never end. The updates will never stop. You will never be done. And that might seem fun at first, but trust me, you will regret it. At some point, you're just going to throw your hands in the air and say, I'm done. I'm so sick of it. So ask me how I know. That's it. That's all there is. It's very, very simple. Now, there's no product key involved here. And we don't have to worry about Shift F10. We don't have to worry about Home versus Pro. Everything's on here. All this stuff about, oh, you can't bypass a Windows account. That's just ignorance. If you just follow the simple steps, you don't have to jump onto those bandwagons of people that seem to feel like they're victims of something other than just not being aware. I've seen people pay money for utilities that say, we can bypass the Microsoft account when Rufus is free. So do you want to pay? Go ahead and pay. I won't stop you. Knowledge is power. And be very careful of the content creators on YouTube, especially now, because they don't always know what they're talking about. Or they know what they're talking about from a perspective, but they don't know any other perspective to compare it to. So this is how a professional does it. If you find professionals online, whether they're professional mechanics that actually work as mechanics, professional doctors, professional whatever, carpenters, and you can validate, yeah, that guy's a real plumber, and he's giving you advice as a real plumber, or she is, that's different from some guy or gal that just is a plumbing enthusiast. Now, it's your plumbing, and if you want to spring a leak and you want to spend 3 times more money and spend 3 times the length of time it takes to fix it yourself because you need to learn that way, I got no problem with it. But I've reached a point in my life where I'm done with that. There's no reason to figure all this stuff out on your own anymore. It's just a matter of finding a good source online. And once you find that good source online, subscribe to it, like it, bookmark it, support them, because they're just sharing with you. If they do whatever the subject matter is of their video, if they do that professionally for a living, they're not going to show you what they know in 5 minutes. You're just going to get a sniff. So you can imagine how much more genuine, authentic content that person is capable of sharing with you for free. That's not to say all the content from enthusiasts is bad content. It's just hard to tell it apart. Unless you're a professional, how else would you know if the enthusiast information is accurate, or if they're doing it the hard way, or doing it in a way that doesn't really make sense? Like if a professional wouldn't do it, why should you do it at home? So it doesn't mean the information is necessarily harmful, but when I do a job, I want to do it as good as a professional. If I do my own plumbing, if I do my own car repair, if I do my own computer repair, I have experience with the computer repair. But if I'm looking to do work on my car and I'm not familiar with how to do it, I'll start looking at videos, and I will skip past about 3 or 4 videos because they're either not explained well, not filmed well, or just terrible. And I can tell. I'm like, that's not right. And then I'll keep looking until I find one that makes sense. And then I'll look and see what else has this person done. And likely the person that makes sense has probably got a whole library of videos that are also very, very good. Those are the ones I subscribe to, and those are the ones I'll go back to for more knowledge on that subject. That's how I do it, if that helps you at all. All right, let me see if we have any questions. Let me get back full screen here on camera 1. And I guess I can just turn this off now. Now, Steve Miller said Microsoft doesn't exactly have a perfect history of releasing stable updates into the wild. So this is a common internet-only attitude. I work as, I don't know what this person in the chat room does for a living, but the minute you go up against a professional and you start challenging them, I really think you need to consider who you're talking to. If I have found in the real world in my career that Windows updates are frequently causing problems, I will tell you. But what I can tell you is if one person in the world or 10 people in the world have a problem, it is more times than not something they've modified on their computer that the rest of us haven't done because they think they know too much and they get in their own way. So yes, if you're one of those people that says, oh, updates cause problems, so I'm not going to get them, that's like the people who say, oh, the vaccine causes you illness, so I'm not going to get the vaccine. And instead, you get the illness. I don't know how you think you're winning that war, but here's what I can tell you. We're a community that's been here on YouTube since 2008, and I am just about had enough of people whining and complaining about things that don't affect them. If you personally have had a problem with a Windows update, you can come here and we'll help you and we'll educate you on how to solve that problem. That's not to say Microsoft doesn't have update issues, but they're profoundly rare. As long as you keep up to date, you will be better off statistically than if you avoid the updates. Because by not getting the updates, you leave yourself vulnerable to what the update's fixing. And the longer you put it off, the more vulnerable you become. And if that's the way you want to go through life, I will not join you on that journey. But if you follow my advice, and this is the advice I've run my business from since the mid-1990s, my customers, the last time I had an issue with a Windows update, and I'm just being straight up honest with you, recently, about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, a Windows update came out that made the peer-to-peer networking require authentication and disabled guest account. And they did this on purpose. It wasn't a bug. This is done to protect you. The internet's a dangerous place, and if you don't understand how dangerous it is, maybe just don't use Windows, because my gosh, it's frustrating that people are just living in denial. And it's a very simple fix. And once it's set, you don't have to worry about it again. And then about the same month or the month after, they came out with another security update for the same reason. It's the hackers online that are attacking you, and they're coming up with all these clever ways. And you can't just ignore it because you haven't been attacked yet. Give it time. If you keep ignoring those updates because you don't like the consequences, it's like avoiding the vaccine and you get the illness. Give it time. So your choice. I'm not telling you what to do, but you won't be my customer. If I tell you to get those updates and you won't do it, you can take your business somewhere else, because I don't have time for that. So it's really frustrating to me because I don't want to work that hard. I don't want to have to keep revisiting the same customer because they're just a bad decision maker. They can live with their consequences, but I don't have to. I don't need that kind of work. So if you personally have had a Windows update that's affected you, the first thing you need to do is get the Windows update. Stop believing all the nonsense you read online, for crying out loud. It's all nonsense. Most of it is. Let's talk about what's affecting you. And if it's affecting you, come into the community. We'll fix it 100% of the time, guaranteed. And it's likely not a problem with the Windows update. So as I was saying, the second Windows update was also a security issue where file previews were being turned off. And I have a client that likes to go into File Explorer, and they have a ton of customers. And they'll have a folder with a customer's name, and then they'll have all these court documents and evidence photos and PDF files in that client's folder. And they're looking for a specific one. So what they'll do is they'll open the Windows Explorer and they'll go over to the NAS and they'll start looking at the little file preview to look for the document they're looking for. Word document, spreadsheet, PDF. This is how they've been doing it for years. All of a sudden, it says file preview's been blocked because you downloaded this from the web. You're grabbing it from a NAS. It's the mark of the web is what they call it. But again, it's a registry fix, and it's done for security reasons. You can't simply ignore the security and think there's not going to be consequences. Those consequences could happen, in days or in years. The longer you put it off, it's sort of like it's like you think you can walk through a fire and not get burned. Maybe you can, but you go ahead of me, okay, and enjoy that, and you'll go without me. It's just bad judgment. So if in reality you personally experience an issue after a Windows update, we'll help you with it. You are not lost. You are not down. And if that were true, I would have been out of business years ago. The reason my business stays up is my customers get all Windows updates automatically, whether they like it or not. And I take responsibility if I'm wrong. So if you're not willing to take responsibility for causing the data theft and other people's ransomware and harm from your advice, you shouldn't be giving it. You can follow your own advice. But when you're being held accountable to other people and you have that advice, you're probably not going to find yourself in business very long. I'm just telling you. You can choose to do whatever you want to. But as a professional in this industry, since when I started was 1991, consider the source of the information. Throw it away, dismiss it, do whatever you want. It's your choice. Alan Lindos wants to know, will the non-Microsoft apps that are currently loaded to the C drive still remain after the setup is finished? Well, you can do either a repair install or you can do a clean install. So for me, I would use this like on a brand new build, right? Let's say I just built a computer, I need to put an operating system on it. When we built this one, we bought it bare bones. If you remember, we put RAM and we put storage in it, and we had to provide our own operating system. Where does that come from? It comes from our flash drive that we just made. We plug it in. It's a bare hard drive. If your hard drive has data on it, you can do a repair, but oftentimes you don't have to boot from media to do that. If we start this back up and just go into the Windows Update option in the control panel, you can do a repair without even needing a flash drive. Windows 11 is fantastic. A lot of people, they learned things 20 years ago, and they think everything's the same, and nothing is the same. It's similar, but in 20 years, this whole process is different from, you know, Windows 8 and Windows 7 or Windows XP or Windows 95. A customer recently asked me, how can I find the product key on my computer? What do you need your product key for? Well, in case I have to reinstall. No, this isn't 2003 anymore. That's not how it works anymore. Well, how am I supposed to reinstall without a product key? Put the same version of Windows you've had. So if you have Windows 11 Home and you need to reinstall Windows 11 Home. If it's Windows 11 Pro, reinstall Windows 11 Pro. When the system asks you for a product key, click I don't have a product key. Then it says, well, without a product key, I don't know if you want Home or Pro. You're supposed to know which you have, right? So you tell it which one you have, Home or Pro. When it's done and you plug it into the internet, it says, I recognize your motherboard. Windows Update servers recognize the serial number of your motherboard, and they know the product key that was assigned to that serial number. Without a Microsoft account, just through Windows Update, it'll put the product key back on and activate for you, and it won't even tell you it did it. This is 2026, and it's been this way for 10 years. So don't worry about your product key anymore, unless you change the motherboard, in which case it's time to buy a new version of Windows, because most of the versions of Windows most people use are all going to be OEM licenses and not retail licenses, because they're 90% less money to buy an OEM license than a retail license. But if you're going to reinstall on 10 different motherboards, you can only install it on one board at a time. I guess if you do it 10 times, you'll break even on the cost of the OEM licenses that are 90% less cost. So I don't use retail licenses. Okay. So I've turned this back on, and I wanted to show you, if we go back over to the desktop here, let me go over here, source, and we're going to go to the control panel, right? So settings, or just settings, I guess we call it today. We'll go to Windows Update, and then you're going to go to Advanced Options. That's what you're looking for. Under Recovery, you have the ability to reset the computer, right? So you can choose to keep or remove your personal files and then reinstall Windows. So you can either wipe the whole thing out and start over with no bootable drive needed, or you can choose to repair Windows but keep all the data and all the files. And again, no bootable drive is needed. If your system won't boot, and you're wondering, can I keep all my data and files? You shouldn't want to, in my opinion, because what you're doing is whatever caused your non-boot issue is you're leaving it on your system. You're leaving the consequences, the mess. You're leaving all the collateral all over your hard drive. So now you've got a nice clean Windows install, but whatever caused you to not be able to boot, maybe a virus, it may be some other type of infection. So what you would do, and many of you are going to know the answer to this, is you're going to have something we call a backup. And your backup is very simple. It is a duplicate copy of anything important to you. So if I have an application that I want to reinstall, wherever I got that application, the first time I ever installed it, where did it come from? So I like to have RoboForm. So I'm going to go back to roboform.com, and I'm going to download the latest version of RoboForm. Big deal. If I had Microsoft Office, I'm going to have to reinstall Microsoft Office. And if I used a one-time license key, I will have to buy another license key, because that's how the OEM keys on Office work. So then in that case, you'd have to buy a retail license. If you want to avoid all that, then you need to have what's called a system image backup, which is a tool already built into Windows. All you got to do is use it, and that'll preserve your entire operating system and apps. But if you want to go through without backups, I don't want to hear you talk to me about how do I preserve my data in my apps. That is absolutely ridiculous. It's like you want to drive around without car insurance and you're asking me, how do I avoid getting into a car accident? So please, for the love of all that's holy, if you care about your data and you care about your apps, know where you got your apps, know your product keys, save them somewhere. Get a flash drive, find some way to save all of your apps. If I download an app online, I make a folder with the name of the app and the downloaded file that I use to install it. Any serial number, I open Notepad and I enter any login information I need, and I save it as serial.txt. Those two files, the installation file and the text file, go into the folder that's named, whatever the name of the program is. But these days, more and more, that's considered an old school method from people who don't understand the internet is your library. Everything, every app, unless you wrote it yourself, where did you get it from? Why do you think you can't get that anymore? So you just go get it the same way you got it before. But if you just kept a copy of it, not an issue. And if you make a system image, you would just restore the system image and it'll take your system literally back into time and put it all right back the way it was whenever you made the image. So if you made the image 6 months ago, every app, every activation, every bit of data that you had 6 months ago all comes back. It erases what you've got, takes you back in time as if you never did anything from that 6 months forward, and puts it back to what it was at, like a photograph stuck in time 6 months ago. And hopefully you have backups of everything since your system image, so that if the work you've done in 6 months you don't want to have to redo or lose, or photos, then you can also put those back. But you should have backups of those anyway. Don't tell me something's important to you, but you can't be bothered to make a copy of it. You got to pick one or the other. Make up your mind. All right. So I appreciate the question, but it's really frustrating to me that people want to walk on a tightrope and ask me, how can I make sure I don't fall? Don't walk on the tightrope, or put a safety net down. The backup is your safety net. If you're not going to put a safety net down, don't walk on the tightrope. If you're going to walk on the tightrope anyway, understand what you're risking. I don't know what else to tell you. That's just inexcusable. In my line of work, it's inexcusable. What do you recommend for backups? I'm using Time Machine for Mac, which is built in, but what about Windows? Really, you don't need to have anything for backups in the sense that you can copy and paste. You can take your My Documents folder, take anything that's important, your pictures, and you can simply copy them off onto an external flash drive or drive. You can put them on OneDrive, Google Drive. You could use a service like Carbonite to automate it for a fee. You could pay money for something like Acronis. You could pay money for what? Listen, I don't personally care how you make your backups. I don't care. There's not such a thing as a bad backup software. It doesn't exist. If you're making backups, use what you like. So it depends what you're backing up. If I'm backing up video files like all these YouTube videos, these are shot in 4K, they go for 2 hours long at a time. We're looking at, 20 gig files daily. I can't put that on a 16 gig flash drive. And even if I had a terabyte flash drive, I'd have it filled in like a month. That doesn't work for me. So I have a network attached storage drive and I simply copy and paste. No software is involved. Now that network attached storage drive in and of itself is not a backup. However, the videos are also on YouTube. So I have two locations. The idea that I would lose my NAS and I would lose YouTube at the same time, very unlikely. And a lot of my content, it kind of goes stale after a while. Like any information I was explaining how to fix, Synology drives not being compatible, it's obsolete, doesn't apply anymore. So who cares if I lose obsolete content? If I'm talking to you about a bad Windows update or a consequence of Windows update and how to fix it, Microsoft already addressed it. That was, last year. There's no point in keeping these old videos up. So that kind of forces me to clean house. In a worst case scenario, it's a blessing. But in any other case where I want to just, because people don't like change. People like, I like to wear these shoes. I haven't bought a new pair of shoes in 30 years. They're broken in. I'll buy new laces and I'll get them cleaned and I'll have them repaired, and they'll spend all this money and all this time because they refuse to adapt and grow. That's fine. That's your right as a human. If you just want to be stuck in the past, you go right ahead. It's not what I do for a living, and you're talking to the wrong guy. But I think it's important to evolve with the operating system. I run into these older folks who learned some utility that they used on their computer back in 2002, and they must put that back on today. And I'm like, what are you doing? I love this utility. Oh no, it's a good utility, but you do know that that utility is obsolete and no longer needed. It's redundant. It's built into Windows 11. It is? Yeah, explain to me what you use that utility to accomplish. What do you do with it? Well, I use this to copy files, so if a file doesn't copy, Windows stops the whole process. You got to start over. No, it doesn't do that anymore. It absolutely does not do that anymore. And if that's why you're installing that utility, stop. All you're doing is plugging up your system. You're just plugging it up because you refuse to adapt to the new ways. So if you're looking for an alternate method, or at least to verify that that third-party software is even needed anymore, come ask us. Tell us what you use it for, and if there is a need for such a software. More times than not, especially the longer, if you've been using that piece of software over 10 years, if it's a utility software, you probably don't need it. No, you don't need Revo uninstaller. No, you don't need CCleaner. No, you don't need Xcopy. No, you don't need Opus. You don't need any of that stuff anymore. And if you do, explain it to me. Help me understand why you're using something that none of us are using, and somehow we're all getting our work done. We're all getting everything done we want to do, but you can't do it without special crutches. Explain that to me, please, so I can understand what's going through your mind. Windows, Microsoft, when they see that there's a third-party utility that a lot of people are downloading, Microsoft steals it, basically. They come up with their own version. So for years and years, Glare Utilities, Iolo System Mechanics, CCleaner, all that stuff. We were using it. We were recommending it. Not today. People will defend Revo uninstaller like they're an investor. I'm going to install this piece of software so I can uninstall pieces of software so I can keep my system clean. Preposterous. It's one of the most preposterous and absurd, disconnected from reality things I've ever heard. There are utilities like the video driver, the DDU utility and such from time to time you may need to use. But I don't see any reason you'd ever have to use Revo uninstaller. If you have a product that's not uninstalling, just reinstall that product on top of itself and use the product's uninstaller. But it leaves things behind. It's supposed to. That's what it's supposed to do. It doesn't hurt anything. This isn't a 286. You won't notice any difference. Prove me wrong. Show me how leaving these little items behind that your Revo is, that's psychosomatic. It's not really doing anything to benefit the reliability or performance of your computer. All you're doing is adding a third-party utility, using more resources because you want to remove other pieces of software that are using your resources. Are you guys just walking around in circles? You can if you want to, but I'm not joining in on that train. I got places to go. I'm not going to just sit here running around in circles and insist I'm going somewhere. It drives me crazy. Like, it's so illogical. So, me, do I use Revo uninstaller? No. I used to. I don't use it anymore. If I have a particular piece of software that won't uninstall, it's been a while since I've seen one, first thing I do is reinstall that piece of software. It came from the web. I guarantee you, whatever you're trying to install came from the web. Just go get it from the web again and install it again, right on top of itself. Then uninstall it. It'll come off every time. But what if it doesn't? Okay, in the 1 in 10,000 chance that it doesn't come off, go ahead and use your Revo uninstaller, remove it, and then uninstall the Revo uninstaller. Don't use it needlessly. in anticipation of a problem, because these problems just don't exist anymore, very rarely. Very rarely. But people think, well, but this is what I used to do. Yes, yes. 15 years ago, I'd be giving you different advice. This isn't 15 years ago anymore. What do you think the people at Revo Uninstaller are going to do? Well, guys, I brought all my friends from Revo and CCleaner and Glary Utilities here to tell you we're shutting the company down because customers don't need us anymore. Really? Do you think they're going to have that conversation? What if it was the other way around? Hey, boss, I was watching this content creator. He says people don't need our software anymore. Well, that guy's an idiot. Everybody needs our software. Don't ask a barber if you need a haircut. Of course, they're still trying to sell it. They've got a major investment in this. They're not going to just walk away. We go, oh, you don't need it. They're going to keep telling you you need it because that's good for them. It's not necessarily good for you. But if they got you drinking the Kool-Aid, boy, they got you by the bait and they got you hooked. And now I'm trying to get you unhooked. I'm trying to set you free. And it's like you don't want to be. Some of you don't want to be free. You want to be on the hook. Okay. You know, it's like you send your fishing line out and you catch a fish and you reel it in and you let it go and you release it. And you drop your bait back in and that same fish comes right back and does it again. And you're like, nah, I think you're doing it on purpose. You want to be eaten. That's what it is. Okay. I made the assumption that you didn't want to be eaten. I was wrong. Tell us how you really feel, Carey. Lee wants to know, on the gaming side, Windows 11's KB 507-4109, NVIDIA had said to uninstall the update due to lots of issues, and I wanted to see if that was true. So I don't really have any clients that are gamers. Like, that doesn't pay my bills. And somebody's going, my game is stuttering and isn't. That's different from like, hey, I can't get the money out of my bank account and I can't help my customers. I got a line of customers trying to pay me for product and the registers went down. Like, you have to understand my attitude on this is like, your biggest issue is you can't play your game. Like, okay, I'm not saying you don't have a problem, but it's like you're going to an emergency room for a splinter when there's people with gunshot wounds and heart attacks sitting in there. So it's not to diminish your issue, but we want to triage it. Like, how important is that? How much time do we want to invest so your Fortnite doesn't stutter when you play it? This is always going to be the case for games. If you play games, you're always going to be solving problems. The anti-cheat, which now requires, secure boot for like, is it Steam? I can't keep up with it. It's one problem after another problem after another problem with games. If you want to play games and you've got the time and you've got the money to pay for those games and play those games, this is part of the game, is making the game work. That is part of the game. It'll always be part of the game. It's never going away. If you don't want to deal with it, buy an Xbox, buy a PlayStation, get a console, get a Steam Deck. If you want to be on the PC, you will always be fixing issues with games. Always. And all you're going to do when you solve this problem is go to the next one, and then the one after that, and the one after that. That's as much of playing the game as the game you're trying to play. It's always been that way. It's always going to be that way. And when you're sick and tired of it, just get a console, get a Steam Deck, and be done with it. So with regards to your specific problem, I am aware that there was a Windows update. I remember reading it in one of the news sites that I follow, that NVIDIA was pointing the finger at Microsoft. On the other hand, since NVIDIA's been focusing all their attention on AI, remember how there used to be a new NVIDIA video driver every 3 weeks? I haven't seen NVIDIA video drivers updated in like 2.5 months. I've never seen them go this long. So clearly NVIDIA has decided either we've got our drivers perfect after all these years, we don't have to come out with new drivers. We're done. Or they've decided to pour all their resources and money into the AI side and ignore the gamers. It's not important to them anymore. So you're kind of on your own with that. So Microsoft's going to say it's NVIDIA's fault. NVIDIA says it's Microsoft's fault. We've been through this over and over and over for the last 20 years. It's always the same thing. And then you'll get past it and there'll be another problem. And it's always one company blaming the other company, always. And you know who doesn't suffer from any of this? None of my customers, is they use their computers to make money. They don't use their computers to spend money. So what I can tell you is, with regards to the specific issue that you're mentioning, I do recall NVIDIA officially saying you should uninstall the update. I can't remember word for word what it is, and it doesn't affect me or anybody I know because we don't use our computers in that way. But you should be able to Google that and look for official sources of information like NVIDIA or Microsoft. Don't trust Reddit. Don't trust other people online. You need to be able to validate the source of the information. And this is the logic of gamers. If I get my identity stolen, if someone steals my wallet and encrypts me with ransomware because I uninstalled the update, it's okay because my Fortnite doesn't glitch while I'm playing it anymore. Okay, you and I have a different set of priorities, man. If you think it's okay, if you think it's worth it to uninstall an update because NVIDIA says, if you uninstall this update, now your game won't glitch out on you. The consequences of you uninstalling that update are your decision. Pee Wee Herman used to offer, when he did stand-up comedy, he used to offer wallets for Tootsie Rolls. He'd say, I got a bag of Tootsie Rolls. Who wants a Tootsie Roll? Give me your wallet, I'll give you a Tootsie Roll. And people jokingly are like, yeah, here's my wallet. They literally handed him their wallet, and then he gave them a Tootsie Roll. Who else? Who else want? It was silly, and people thought it was fun. But if he was a scammer, they literally handed him their wallet with their credit cards, their money, their personal information, their IDs. Ha, ha, ha. The world is very dangerous now. And to be that flippant with your security is fine if you disconnect from the internet. It's fine if you're, again, on an Xbox or a PlayStation. If you're willing to not be as secure as the rest of us because it's more important that you can play your game, you're living by a different set of values than I am. So I can't condone that. And it may in fact fix your problem, and it may in fact cause a bigger problem or not. It's your choice to make. Dennis says NVIDIA is too busy counting their money. Yeah, and somebody's like shouting 1123, 1286. Like, I gotta start over again. 1, 2. W.E. Holmes says, Carey, I used Rufus last week following your previous Rufus tutorial, which I did just a few months ago in October, and did a clean install of Windows 11 on a 2020 Dell Latitude, which was a 10th generation i5 with 12 gig of RAM, and it works great. Yeah, that's the factory process. I mean, that's the right way to do it. It's always going to work great. If you follow my steps, there's only one way I can stay in business as long as I've been in business. Okay? So yes, if you follow the steps, it's always going to work. But I appreciate the update and sharing your experience, because that's really important. People may not believe me. If we have other testimonials in the chat, just gives more credence and confidence to the others who aren't quite sure where they sit. And you know what? Until you have your own experience, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Joel says, do you ever need to clean your PC? Well, you should absolutely clean the PC, both with a duster to get the dust out of it at least once a year. Turn the computer off, take it outside. You can use, you know, they have USB charging air compressors. You can use the can of compressed airs, which are terrible for the environment and horribly expensive. I can use a leaf blower on these outside, cleans them up just fine. I wouldn't do that on a laptop. I'd probably blow the laptop into the neighbor's yard. But you want to physically clean them, right? But then with regards to temp files and things like that, over here, if we come back over here, Microsoft has their own alternative to CCleaner, and it's called PC Manager. And you see I've got PC Manager installed here. If you want PC Manager, just go to your search bar, type in PC Manager. And if it's not installed, it'll offer to take you to the Microsoft Store. No Microsoft account is needed. And it'll download it and install it directly from the Microsoft Store. It is completely free. All I do with PC Manager, when it first comes up, it may ask me if I want to restore Windows defaults. I always uncheck that. It'll say, do you want PC Manager to automatically start with Windows every time you start Windows? Yes, I always check that. Then it brings you to this screen here. It says, here's how many temporary files you have here and your memory usage, and you hit the boost button and it's going to zero those out. It's very quick. Then right here, under Disk Cleanup, I click on that, let it scan, and I hit proceed. I don't change any of the defaults. If you do change the defaults, you might wipe out cookies and passwords and sessions and things like that, and you'll have to re-log in. But if you just hit the clean button, there we go. It just cleaned almost a gig of space. Then I'm going to hit the home button, and I'm going to go to Set Smart Boost, and by default, this is off when you first install it. But the Smart Boost setting is Microsoft PC Manager will automatically boost your PC, so you don't have to do this on your own. You can just let it handle itself by turning that on and then close it. You're done. No more CCleaner, no more glare utilities. You're done. If you want to explore around in here, there's a bunch of other features under the toolbox, under apps, under storage, under protection, under restore, under settings. You want to dig through all that? Have fun. Every one of my customers has this installed on their computer. It's all set to run automatically. And I've seen times where it doesn't seem to be running automatically, where I pull this up on a client's computer and it's giving me some large gigabyte number here, which is crazy. So I audit it, I check it. And if I see this number is, close to a gig or it's more than 3 digits, whatever, I just hit the boost button. And while I'm in there, I didn't do the disk cleanup. And then I double check to make sure that that's been left on. That's it. Super easy, free, and it's made by the company who makes the operating system. So who do you think cleans the OS better? A third-party company that has nothing to do with Microsoft, or the company who made the product? Who are you going to trust to clean your system without consequence? All day long, you got to go with the manufacturer. I think that's a pretty basic, obvious answer, isn't it? But Microsoft didn't always make PC Manager, so you didn't have any alternative. The best you could do is disk cleanup. And if you want to do that too, this doesn't dismiss disk cleanup. So for example, if you don't know what I'm talking about, let me go back over here. And these are simple maintenance tasks that have no negative consequences to any of you. You can all do this. It's all free. You don't have to download or install any third-party app. Just type disk cleanup and you'll see up here, disk cleanup appears. I don't even have to type the whole thing in. And I click here where it says cleanup system files. If you have more than one drive, I always pick the C drive. I check every single box, every box, and click OK and delete files. That's it. Now, if you haven't done this ever, this could run for an hour or more if your system's older and you've never done it. And you're going to have a lot of free space when you're done. And it's always been there. You just didn't know about it. And that's what I'm here, getting excited about, is like, how can we keep doing all this old stuff when all these new tools are available? They're already there and you're not using them. And they're better. They're more reliable. They're made by the manufacturer who made the operating system. There's no reason to circumvent that just because you didn't know it was there. So I'm here to enlighten you with information that you may not have had before, so you realize what I'm telling you should hopefully make sense. Because if you've already got this in Windows, why would you need CCleaner or glare utilities? So that's what I'm trying to get at. What do you think these updates are doing? Just causing problems? They're adding features like this. By the way, the disk cleanup's been part of Windows for like 20 years and people don't know anything about it. If you buy a brand new computer from Dell, even Dell doesn't know about it, or they can't be bothered. Because if you run disk cleanup on a brand new system from pretty much anybody but me, you're going to probably have 4 to 40 gigabytes of wasted temp file, wasted hard drive space that the manufacturer never occurred to them to clean that out. And all you got to do is run disk cleanup on a brand new machine, and you will free up space immediately on your brand new computer. I have never seen it run by a manufacturer, ever. Other shops, Best Buy and Stable, as far as I know, they don't run it. It's like the level of knowledge, which in my world is basic knowledge. Like, if you wouldn't know that, I wouldn't hire you, because if you don't know that, you aren't going to be able to handle the real world problems, because that's not even a problem. That's a maintenance thing. That should be basic 101 stuff for anybody who calls themselves a professional tech. All right, in my mind, that's my values, because it scares me that somebody's out there calling themselves a tech and they don't know this. But I'm not saying for any of you, but if you're hiring somebody or you're receiving a computer from a place like Dell, wouldn't you think that basic maintenance would have been done at the factory so the computer you get is clean? I got news for you. Never has that happened, and to this day, if you don't do it yourself, it won't get done. So those are some maintenance tasks you should and highly recommend you perform at least once a year, if not every 6 months. You can't do it too much. You can run that PC Manager every day if you want to. You'd be kind of crazy. You'd be spending a lot more time running PC Manager than the amount of optimization you're getting back for the investment of your time. But maybe you enjoy it. Maybe it's a good placebo, feel good, gives you warm fuzzies. I don't know. Have at it. You're not going to hurt anything. Lee said, I have certain games that were fine before the update, and once the update came out, it gave me issues. So we can't help people that talk like that. Okay, just so you know. If you genuinely are sincere about wanting help, we need to know what game you were playing and what the problem specifically with that game is. Then we can determine from those two pieces of information if an update is responsible. And, you know, we can Google it. We can ask ChatGPT or Copilot, whatever. Likely the information is already out there on how to address it, but you must be specific. You can't say, I was playing a game. There's over 500,000 games. Which one of those 500,000 were you playing? And it's having a problem. There's an infinite number of problems. What is the problem? The game doesn't start. The game doesn't look right. Like, what is it? It's frustrating. I ate over there and it made me sick. You ate over where, when, and in what way were you sick? Did you have a stomach ache? Were you throwing up? Did you just not feel well? Did you have a fever? If you provide us those details, we will provide you the details you want. But if you don't provide the details, it seems to me psychologically, you don't want to be corrected and you don't want to know. You want to play victim and say, nothing I could do, it's a Microsoft update. And I don't know how you came to that conclusion without verifying it through somebody who's unbiased like ourselves and in the chat room to say, yeah, you know what, you're right. Or to say, well, you're half right. Or maybe you're not right at all because there's an update to the game you didn't know about. There's all these possibilities. And we love to help people who genuinely want the help. But if you do genuinely want help, you need to specify what it is you want help with and what the problem is. Which game is it? When did the problem start? And what is the experience that you are calling a problem? What is it? And sometimes the answers are the game developers. I told my nephew, when he built his own system, he put 96 gigs of RAM in it. And I said, you're never going to use 96 gigs of RAM. You just wasted your money. Okay, whatever. So it's there, it's done. Calls me up and he goes, hey, I got news for you. I'm looking right at my resource monitor and I'm using 96 gigs of RAM. So you're wrong. Let me remote it and let me see this because I need to see this. Show me what you're looking at. He goes, whenever I start this game, the game doesn't start and the resources go off the chart. Okay, that's a different problem. You're stuck in a memory leak loop because of a bad DLL file. And if you just Google that, the name of the game, and the fact that it's eating all your memory, there's all kinds of information from 2 years ago that tell you to go and delete this DLL file. So I want you to go delete that DLL file. And he did. I said, okay, restart the computer. Okay, start the game. Game works perfectly fine. Okay, how's your resources? How much memory are you using now? Well, I just was yanking your chain because you said I'd never use all the memory. I said, you still weren't using all the memory. That's not using all the memory. That's a whole separate problem that resulted in using all the memory and would have used as much memory as exists on the planet. If it's, that's not using the memory. That's a consequence of wasted memory that is tied into bad development, bad programming, and was very easily fixed. Literally deleted a DLL file. It took 2 seconds and a reboot and it was fixed. We talked about it and he described it longer than it took to fix it. Some of these games are very poorly developed. They're just cranking them out as quick as they can get them out. They're not optimized code. The companies don't care. They will use every bit of resources and tell you to just spend more money on a better video card before they'll pay their developers to optimize the code. And as long as you guys keep buying this crap, they're going to keep making it. So until gamers say we've had enough of being abused and make better games, optimize those games so they're not consuming all the resources unnecessarily that they're taking today, a lot of the game developers will go out of business because they'll say we can't afford to do that. And you say, well, I can't afford to keep upgrading my system because you can't afford to write it optimized the first time. Somebody's going to pay for it. Are they paying for it or are you paying for it? And when you've had enough, put your foot down. If you haven't had enough, keep opening your wallet. That's it. That's the reality of gameplay today. Unless, of course, you're on a console. Matt says, what do you use to clean computer screens? I use a microfiber cloth and water. Good old-fashioned water. And what I'll do, because these microfiber cloths can be hard to get them, it's not a sponge. It kind of resists water. So I'll take a corner. Don't use any chemicals. Don't use Windex. Don't use any screen cleaners. No chemicals. Take a corner and run it underneath the faucet. Get it nice and wet. Wring it out. And then I'll put it behind my fingers and go across the screen. And then I'll take a dry side, which is pretty much 90% of the rest of it, and get all the streaks and get into the corners and the edges really, really good where the dust collects. Wipe it down. And you don't even have to use water. You could just start dry. But if you have anything on your screen, like maybe you sneezed, I know it's kind of disgusting, and now you have these little spots all over your screen, you will need to use some water. But if all you've got is dust and everything's dry, I would start with a dry microfiber cloth. And this is true of any screen, televisions. If you use Windex or an ammonia-based cleaner or rubbing alcohol, anything that's a solvent, you could remove the anti-glare coating off of the screen. If you use a paper towel or a regular towel, the fibers of that may scratch little tiny fine scratches all over your screen. So microfiber is the way to go. Harbor Freight oftentimes has a coupon for a package of microfiber towels completely for free with any purchase. They're so inexpensive. You can go on Amazon and you can buy a package of about 50 of them for, I don't know, less than 10 bucks. So I don't even bother putting these in the wash. When they're dirty, I'll use them till they get dirty and then I throw them in the trash can. Oftentimes when they come out of the washing machine and the dryer, they get kind of crunchy and I don't know, they lose some of their softness and it makes me worried. I guess it's supposed to be okay, but since they're so cheap, they're not much more money than paper towels. But unlike a paper towel, I can reuse it until it gets really disgusting. I wouldn't use a microfiber cloth If I'm working on the car and I want to clean the oil off my hands, I'll just use paper towels or a rag. And they do sell shop rags. But I wouldn't use a shop rag to clean the inside of the car. I'd go back to the microfiber cloth. Even the car windshield, same thing. If it's glass or if it's a screen, microfiber's it. And just water. Luke Greeting says, I need to find Carey's video on backing up the system drivers. You know, you can just download the optimizer, right? We have a Windows 11 optimizer we released just a couple months ago. And the Windows driver backup is automatically built into Windows. Once again, people are downloading third-party utilities unnecessarily, and they'll stick with them and be loyal to them, even though all they're doing is they're not being loyal to you. I don't even care if it's a free piece of software. That's coming with spying, and you're paying more than you think. So you want to defend companies that behave that way? You and I think differently. The tool's already built into Windows. And instead of, you know, I got to find the video or what's the command, all you have to do is use the optimizer. It's $20 available at D7X Tech, our friends at D7X. We work hand in hand to develop the tool. Let me show it to you. Let's go over here. And let me show you how the optimizer works. Let me go full screen. Okay, so now it's been full screen for you, just not for me. I don't have the optimizer there, but it is on my utilities flash drive. So let me plug the flash drive in. And in just a minute, we should see that pop up on the screen. Or not. Over here, Uncle Carey's Windows 11 optimizer. Very small, it's only a 3 meg file, but this thing does a ton of optimizations for you, including giving you the option to back up your drivers. So when I run this, you want to run this? Yes. Would you like to check for updates? Yes. No updates are available. Updates are free for the life of the product. The product will be updated as long as Microsoft supports Windows 11. When Microsoft ends support for Windows 11, we end support for the optimizer. Now you can see I'm already optimized. Everything is in the green. That's the way I like it. If you like some things differently, then just click each one of these that you choose to turn off. It's fully customizable, but the defaults are the way I want it because I made it for me, okay? And over here, you see some buttons. There's the disk cleanup. Guess what that starts? The tool I already showed you, the disk cleanup tool. There's driver backup. There's PC Manager. All of this is in one pane of glass, one window, so you don't have to search all these different areas in Windows. You go into settings, you go over here, you find it over here. This puts everything for maintenance right in front of you. Windows Update, no problem. Just click that button. One button away. Okay, so right here it says driver backup. Click on that. It says I'm backing up your drivers right now. One click. Where are they going? Sit tight. Completed driver backup. The backup location is C:\drivers. Okay, so if we go to our little file explorer, we go to the C drive, you're going to find we have a folder here called drivers. Those are all the drivers. Make a copy of that, put it on a flash drive, move it off the system. That's all you have to do. You don't have to watch any videos. Once you buy this utility once, you can run it on as many computers as you want. There's no license key. We're on the honor system with it. So we hope you guys don't put us out of business. D7X Tech, Windows 11 optimizer. Let's see if we can search. We do have a link in the video notes, but in case you want to search for it, let's see if it shows up. First link, Uncle Carey's Windows 11 optimizer. Here it is. You can add it to the cart. I don't sell it. I don't handle the payment process. I don't handle support. That's all done by our friend Nick. That's what Nick looks like over at D7X Tech. And we're still working on adding a few more features to it. And we hope to continue adding features to it well into the future. So where it's at right now, I think it's well worth the $20. And you're supporting us here on the channel, right? You're helping us so we don't have to have sponsors, so we don't have to spew out some manufacturer's script that are not my words, being told what I'm allowed to tell you, what I'm not allowed to tell you, when I have to tell you, or I don't get paid. This is more organic. This is like, hey, I made this utility for my business. It's a custom-made utility. Put a lot of time and effort into it. Nick did an amazing job and put even more time and effort into it, making it to the way I described it. $20 is nothing for the amount of hours that have been combined between Nick and myself to create this. The only thing we're asking you is please don't give it away. If you want to run it on your friends' computers, run it, but then take it off. After all, once you run it, you don't really need it anymore anyway, unless you did a reinstall. It's not like it's something you have to revisit. But encourage your friends, if they like it, to go buy it and support us here. If everybody's copying it and nobody's paying for it, well, we won't be able to support it anymore, and there won't be any more, you know, the updates will be less frequent. If everybody's draining the well will be empty, and there won't be anything left for anybody else, so including Nick and myself. So we're trying to do the right thing by the community, and we're counting on the community to support us. And, you know, our future is in the hands of our community, not in the hands of a corporate sponsorship. And once you buy it, you can run it as many times as you want. I love that it's telling me my version of Windows, my SID for anybody who clones and you're having networking problems now. The username, my computer name, and work group are all right here. Whether or not my Windows is activated, whether or not my TPM is installed, whether or not Secure Boot is on, whether or not BitLocker is on or not, and then whether or not System Restore is on. And since there's not a preference, like I want System Restore on, but you might want it on or off. It's not right or wrong depending on the individual. So for that reason, the icon turns into a little finger, and you click on that and it'll take you right to the System Restore settings. So in other words, this will take you exactly in the operating system where that setting is located, so you're not hunting around for it. But the utility isn't doing anything you can't do by hand. You can set every one of these by hand if you want to. You don't need a utility to do this for you. But if you're like me and you just want to get it done in one click, and you want to make sure that it's done consistently, you haven't forgotten anything, and you want to double check information, you're not jumping over to one screen for this information, another screen for that information, you understand? It's a huge time waste. So that's why I had this utility built, is for me. And we're looking at adding another button here for turning off delivery optimization, because I've since learned that another little trick is if we go to Windows Update, what I found is by default under Advanced Options, under Delivery Optimization, this is turned on, and it may slow your whole Windows Update process down if this is turned on. Now, if you're in a big office with 50 computers, this makes sense where one computer downloads and the other 49 can just copy the file of the update locally. If behind the scenes you don't even know what's happening. But if you're a home user, I'd say turn that off, and you might find your Windows updates happen a lot faster. So most people watching my YouTube channel are home users. There would be no benefit to having this on. So one of the features we're adding is another button in the optimizer that's going to say disable the Windows update optimization. And another button we're going to add is to fix the file preview problem. Although I only have one client that was affected by that. But essentially, if you open File Explorer and you turn previews on, then when you click on a file, it'll show you the contents of the document, the spreadsheet, the PDF file. And it was working that way for 20 years, going all the way back. Windows 7, Windows XP, it always worked. Then all of a sudden, an update came out and started blocking it because hackers are using it to infect systems with viruses. So we have a paid version of Malware Bytes running on all the client computers that should catch stuff like that. Plus, the clients are trained where safe sources are to download files. Plus, we have offsite backups in a worst case scenario. So we're covered. They really need that feature to work, so we bypass it. And we're going to add that button to re-enable file previews. So Nick is working on that now, and that will be a future update at no additional cost to the optimizer. And we expect more, as we discover more, to be added to the optimizer as needed. Supreme Nerd mentions that, yes, our Windows 10 optimizer does work on Windows 11. But Windows 11 is specifically tuned, the optimizer, to do so much more. Because Windows 11 has some features that don't necessarily apply to us and we don't need. So not only have we carried over many of the same optimizations that we previously had on Windows 10, as you can see, we've got 3 to 4 times more added to it. So in theory, it should be worth closer to $30 or $40 if the Windows 10 optimizer was like $7. This one's 20. It's discounted if your price per optimization is a much better value on the Windows 11 optimizer. So yes, but if you still have the Windows 10 optimizer, it will work. It's just not as thorough. It's not as complete as the Windows 11 optimizer on Windows 11. And we're not updating the Windows 10 optimizer anymore. So Microsoft stopped updating Windows 10. They're just doing maintenance updates. That's all you get are maintenance updates. No more features, no more new things, no more patch, no 23H2 or whatever. So we follow what Microsoft does. So if Microsoft says we're only doing maintenance updates, then we're only doing maintenance updates on the Windows 10 optimizer, which at this point is 0. There's no maintenance to be done. But should something happen, until Microsoft says we're not even doing maintenance updates anymore, that's when we end all updates officially on the Windows 10 optimizer. Luke Greenia said, my apologies, I meant to get the optimizer. I forgot to do it, but I just purchased it and I've downloaded it. Thank you. I love it. Thank you, Luke. Yeah, it's such a time saver. Just push a button, it's done for you. You don't have to go into PowerShell as an administrator and then copy and paste this long command. This is just click, done. So thank you for supporting the channel as you always have. And I suggest you use the heck out of the audio. Use it on every computer you want to use it on. Just please don't give it away. That's all I ask. Let people know where they can buy it. Extended support from Chris Garrett. That's, again, I believe that's just maintenance updates. The ESU there's no new features being added to Windows 10. All you're getting, as far as I'm aware, on ESU are just important critical security maintenance updates. That's it. There won't be any enhancements, any features, or any more polishing. They're just keeping it running securely during the period of the extended security updates. ESU stands for extended security updates, right? It's not extended feature updates, not feature enhancements, future enhancements. No, all of that stopped production. Now, these security updates, that's what I'm referring to as maintenance. That's maintenance. Once you get out of maintenance, when you get out of ESU, the optimizer is officially not supported after that. When Microsoft officially stops maintenance, we also stop maintenance for that Microsoft product. Bill Stott said Windows 10 ESU released an update that made my hard drive light start sending out an SOS. I don't know what that means. Okay. Will the Windows 11 version work on Windows 10? No, because Windows 11 is, the optimizer for Windows 11 is dealing with features that only exist on Windows 11. So if you were to try and run that on Windows 10, I think Nick has a check in there. I should try it sometime, but it should come up and say this isn't compatible with your operating system and not even allow it to run. I'll have to double check with Nick. I haven't tried it, but I wouldn't want to run it on Windows 10 because it'll try and change settings that aren't there for features that don't exist and could break something if it were allowed to run. Mark Baggett said, the Windows 11 optimizer is great. I run it on both my systems. Yeah, once you run it once, again, it fixes the networking issue with security. It fixes the, well, it's going to fix the file preview issue. It fixes a lot of things. It tunes so that more of your system resources are available to you, not for background processes. it's the way that I set up every client computer as a professional. That's usually kind of stuff that's kept trade secret in my industry. All right, like it's like trying to get the formula to Coca-Cola or the 11 herbs and spices in Kentucky Fried Chicken. Traditional companies are greedy and they lock this down and they keep it secret. They didn't invent any of those 11 herbs or spices. They're the same 11 herbs and spices you might have in your kitchen now, but you don't know the ratios and what specifically they are. So there are copycat recipes online where people try to emulate it, but how accurate are they? Well, until you have the actual source, you'll never really know. We don't do that here. I am open and transparent and want to make sure that you have the same tools I use for what my values are. Because if I'm running a business and I'm held accountable and you're a home user, this should be a tool that never once causes you any grief or any consequence. And I can't say the same for other system utilities out there that could have consequences months down the road after a Windows update causes your system to break. And then you're going to come in here and tell me it was the Windows update, when in fact it was because you ran some third-party system utility and you're oblivious to it and you didn't tell us that. We'll still help you fix it, but if you don't do that stuff, you reduce the odds of having those consequences in the future. So my updates don't play around with that, because if my optimizer causes a problem, it doesn't affect one person. It affects hundreds of customers. So if a Windows update comes out and that Windows update causes a computer problem because of what my optimizer changed months ago, my phone's going to ring off the hook. And you're not going to see any videos for a while because I will be in red alert, panic mode, trying to help every customer one by one, because I'm held accountable for it. And they're not going to be happy phone calls. These people are going to be pretty upset there's a problem. And if they find out I caused that problem, there could be even more consequences financially for me. So this is no joke. Other companies, they'll have these disclaimers. They go, you use this free CCleaner, you'll use this free Glary, you'll use this free Revo uninstaller with no guarantees, no warranties implied. You accept full responsibility for any negative consequences. If your system catches fire and explodes, you can't sue us, you can't hold us accountable, enjoy your free software. Read the disclaimers. I'm telling you, in a business where you could lose everything, unacceptable terms and conditions. Not worth it. If it's not worth it for them, total loss, whether it's a corporation that affects all the employees and customers or you at home, total loss is still a total loss. I don't know how you can potentially be so dismissive of who cares. But if you are, then you are. I can't wrap my head around it. Because if it wasn't important to you, then why are you bothering with it to begin with? Pick a lane. So my software, if I'm going to do something like that, it has to go through a very rigorous testing policy, and we have to follow Microsoft standard practices. Not because we're shills of Microsoft, not because Microsoft told us we had to. We're doing it because we don't want to have problems and consequences. Otherwise, I wouldn't even go down that road. Just say, nope, don't even do it. Not worth it. Michael Beretta says, I am in the process of completing a new build. Cool. But it won't read the BIOS update from the USB stick. Any ideas on how to fix it? Okay, I want to help you, but I can't help you with that. I have a car, it won't start. What car do you have? What's happening when you try and start the car? Until I get this information, do you have a build? Great. What is it? AMD, Intel? You know what? Never even, just tell me the make and model of your motherboard and the version of BIOS you have now. Then tell me the version of BIOS you're trying to install and what happens, like how are you trying to install it? Are you going into the BIOS and going to the flash option in the BIOS? Are you booting from a bootable BIOS flash drive? Are you running through some Windows BIOS flash software? And then what happens? What's the exact word-for-word error? If you provide us those details, I guarantee you we can solve this problem for you. But there's 10,000 different motherboards out there. I don't know which one you've got. How am I supposed to know? Are you even downloaded the right BIOS for your board? Because maybe there's 3 different revisions of that board and you've downloaded a BIOS for a different revision than the one you have. I don't know that until you tell me what you have now. Then tell me what you've got. Then tell me what is the error word for word. And I promise you, I will give you the answer 100% of the time. Should I download the optimizer to a flash drive? Yeah, go right ahead. Make copies of it for yourself and backups. Copy it to a couple flash drives. I'm only asking you don't give it away. But you can have 10 copies of it for you bought it. Take as many copies of it as you want. As long as they're yours. Fully acceptable. I don't want you to be without it. I don't want you to lose it. If for some reason you do lose it, you'll contact support over at D7X Tech with your receipt number to ask them if you can download it again. They just need to verify you're not a scammer and your receipt number is a real number and you have in fact actually bought it. But you could avoid all that hassle if you just made a backup of it. Now, I don't run it off a flash drive. I always copy it locally. I mean, you don't have to, but I just think it's a good practice. It's faster. Andy Kane joins us and says hello. People talking about car racing today. Guess there's a race going on. Ronnie wants to know if you had any thoughts on what brand I should buy for a power supply. I used to buy EVGA, but now I find it to be more and more expensive. The price has gone up. I think if you stick with a name brand, you're fine. You know, I would avoid lesser known brands that are cheaper. And lately I've been buying Thermaltake makes good power supplies. NZXT makes some good power supplies. Asus makes good power supplies. I've had good luck with GameMax. They're pretty aggressively priced, and I've only had about a half dozen of them, but none of them have ever failed. That's not a big data set, but give you some ideas. Look at the Amazon reviews before you make a purchase and just see what the average review is and what complaints people have. And if you buy from Amazon, you got a 30-day return period. So if you don't like it for any reason at all, you just send it back, no big deal. I saw a video the other day, and if you wonder why I get kind of worked up, it's because things are so easy and people insist on making them complicated. And they will fight. They will fight me. They will argue with me to keep their more complicated way. And it's fine. You want to do it that? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you, you don't have to work that hard anymore. You used to, but you don't have to anymore in most cases. And if you explain to me what you're trying to do, I'll enlighten you. But if you're not open to the enlightenment, just keep doing what you're doing. It makes no difference to me. If I can offer you a life preserver to save you from drowning and you're like, no, it's fine, I can swim on my own. Okay. You want to work harder than you need to. The life preserver, you could still swim with the life preserver. Just take some of the stress. Your muscles might cramp up. At least you got something to take a break and float. So your muscles rest for a minute. No? Okay. So I get a little frustrated. So there's a video the other day I saw where this guy is at a grocery store and he's got a pair of tongs and he's reaching through a hole in plexiglass about this big, trying to get a sandwich roll, bread roll, like a submarine or a grinder bun, bread, sandwich bread, you know, about sandwich size. And he puts the tongs in the hole, and he's trying to move the tongs to grab, there's just a stack of these rolls, these bread rolls. And he's reaching in and he's grabbing one and he's trying to get it through the hole, and he's really struggling with it. And this customer taps him on the arm. Take the tongs out of the hole. The hole's where you put your fingers and slide the plexiglass over. It's a big sliding door. And then you just grab the roll, put it in the bag, and close the door. It's relatable to me because that's the kind of thing I would do. It's like, oh, duh, right? But this guy just, instead of rethinking the whole thing, he just went with, I'm going to get this through that hole. His mind was so fixated on trying to figure the puzzle on how to get the roll through the hole. What's the right angle? And then someone's like, no, you put your fingers in the hole, slide the plexiglass door, and that exposes all of the bread. You grab the roll, put it in the bag, close the door. I was like, that is so me. You have no idea how much I appreciate when somebody points out I'm doing something the hard way. And of course, I'm skeptical, right? I'm like, all right, well, what do you think? What do you know that I don't know? And then they show me. Believe me, those are valuable lessons in life that make you a better person. And it's humbling. And it certainly encourages me that when I'm struggling on something and I'm working hard at something, it encourages me to stop and see if I can look at it from another angle so nobody else has to show me and embarrass me like that. Then it's my own little private experience where I'm just doing it to myself at that point. And nobody's making fun of it. It's just that it's funny because it's so relatable. That's why. It's called overthinking and overcomplicating. And I see a lot of it. And then when you try and help somebody and they won't hear it, it's like, okay. They'll get there in their own time. Let it go. James Prezi said, I didn't know the Windows Media Creation tool was an outdated install file. So the Media Creation tool gets updated along with the ISO image. They both get updated. And the reason I mention it is because if you download the Media Creation tool and you say, oh, I'll save this to use it in the future, you are doing yourself a big disservice. Because the Media Creation tool is programmed to grab a certain version of the ISO file. It's built into the software. So if there is a newer version of the ISO image, the older Media Creation tool that you kept on your system for 6 months so you don't have to download the little tiny file ever again in your life is always going to offer you the same ISO from 6 months ago. So when you want to download a latest ISO, then you want to check with the latest Media Creation tool. Don't hold on to the Media Creation tool. When you're done with it, delete it. That will force you to always download the latest Media Creation tool, so you'll never find yourself in that trap. So you're going to walk away going, Carey doesn't know what he's talking about. That ISO hasn't been updated in 6 months. Well, how are you checking it? With the Media Creation tool. Did you download the latest version of the Media Creation tool? Well, yeah, 6 months ago. No, 6 months ago is not necessarily the latest version of the Media Creation tool. Always download the Media Creation tool the day you want to use it. Never reuse it. Delete it, download it again, because it could be updated tomorrow for all we know. And you'll be stuck in yesterday because you won't do that. You're trying to save time and you're making things more complex than they need to be. It's free, it takes a second to download. I don't know why you need to hoard it. The internet has everything you want. It's all there. You don't have to hoard it yourself anymore. Those days are over. The library is available at your fingertips. You don't need your own personal library anymore. Now, if we come over here, let's go back over here real quick. Let me show you something. You don't have to download the Media Creation tool first. What you could do is you could go to your browser and we type in download Windows 11. right? We're going to go back to the same site. And we should see what version somewhere in here. This option is for users. Somewhere in here, it should tell us what version of Windows 11. Right here. This is what you need to pay attention to. Right at the top of the page. Now, maybe not. This doesn't give us our build number. This just gives us the version. So it's not here. Did it tell us here? Let me look again. Maybe I wasn't. See, if you do it this way, you don't even use the installation tool anyway. You just bypass it. And you'll get the latest version this way. So I'm not seeing where the version and build are offered. It may be on here somewhere, but you'd think that would be kind of forward and obvious and in your face. So I don't know how you're going to find the build number. If you guys know, please let me know, because that would save some effort. Because what my plan is I'll come back next month after the Patch Tuesday, because whatever day the patches are released, the ISO should be updated. And then what I'll do is I'll go in the downloads folder and compare this ISO image right here, right? I'm going to look at the file size and the date, and then let's say the second Tuesday of March, we'll come and download this again and see if it's exactly the same size. If it's the same size, it hasn't changed. Because if they change 1 byte of data, this number is going to be different. Rufus is another one of those tools. I don't recommend you hold on to it. It gets updated frequently. So when you're done with it, I delete it. But I'm going to hold the ISO image until I have a new one. And look at the size of that, 7.2 gigs. Whew. Can I right click and go to properties or details? Will that give me any build numbers? Nope. Yeah, I'm not sure where. I mean, I know if I install it, I'll see it. But yeah, this whole hoarding mentality, this needs to stop. The internet has everything. It is your library available at your fingertips. There's no reason to have this old school, I got to store it all myself. I mean, it's your money and it's your storage space. But boy, when people start hoarding, it's hard to get them to stop. People that have been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years, there's no breaking them. Like they just, it's like an addiction. And you can set yourself free. You have the key to unlock the cage you're locking yourself in. And so many people are just, leave me in my cage. Who's it hurting? Hey, you know what? Enjoy your cage. But if you want to unlock that and let yourself out, it's quite some spiritual personal growth to let it go and embrace the advancements we've made in the last, well, pretty much since the internet was publicly available in around the mid-90s. Everything on your computer probably came from the internet. Every single thing outside of maybe any music or photos that you've taken or any documents that you've created. So if you haven't created it yourself, it's online. That's all I'm trying to say. What am I going to do if it's not available online? It's always online. Always. All right, we're just about at our 2-hour mark, and I know I've been kind of worked up today, but I'm not angry. I'm just passionate. I just feel very strongly about what seems very obvious, and the resistance to obvious, it's frustrating to me because how can you fight and defend ignorance? I don't get it. Somebody's trying to help you. You're here voluntarily, presumably because you want to learn. So why would there be any pushback? So that it frustrates me, like I'm trying to help you. But some people say they want help and they really don't. They want to be vindicated. I'm the wrong guy for that. Unless I agree with you, in which case I need the data. I need to understand what's the problem. Explain it to me in detail. Let me come to the same conclusion. Afford me that opportunity to see it your way. Give me all the data. Let me look at it. I might just see it your way and say, you know what, you're right. But if that were the case, I probably wouldn't have a job, because customers call me because the way they see it, something's broken. The way I see it, it's fixed. Or I will see it differently to fix it that the customer doesn't know. Sometimes it's training the customer. Sometimes it's, like yesterday, we had to change out a power supply. Nobody's fault. System's making noise. Yep, it's making noise. Is it okay to leave it on? You can leave it on, turn it off. You know what I failed to mention? The power supply we fixed yesterday has been left in a power on state since it was installed. Almost 11 years ago, that power supply has been very rarely ever switched off. The system's been restarted, of course, and I have taken the system to change the motherboard out and put a whole new motherboard in, left the power supply in, and during that little 2 or 3 day period, the power supply was off. The minute it was delivered back to the customer, it's powered on, it stays on. So I'd venture to guess 99.5% of the past 11 years since the power supply was installed, it has spent its time powered on 24/7 with no break. Now, if that's not a testament to leaving something on to have fewer problems, I don't know what is. So if you can imagine, this fan has been turning in this power supply. It never shuts off for almost every day, 24/7 for nearly 11 years. And one day, while it was busy doing its thing like any other day, it starts making a vibration sound. It starts making a buzzing sound that I demonstrated yesterday. That's nobody's fault. That's just wear and tear. But it's less wear and tear than if you turned it on and turned it off and turned it on and turned it off. It probably lasted that 11 years because it was constantly in motion and never stopped. Or when it was stopped, it was just a 2 days or 3 days every 4 years it was stopped. Or maybe they lost power over a weekend and they came in on the following Monday and then turned it back on. In other words, it was never powered off on purpose. If you leave electronic items on, they will last longer. Look at your cell phone. You turn it off? Dustin says, great stream as always, Carey and Mara. Thank you, Dustin. Barry Klein recommends we use a PowerShell command. I'm not going to remember that. Now, I know you can compare the hash. I'm not interested. I just care about the file size. There's no way that you're going to change the ISO image and it's going to come out to be the same size. No way. Now, if I'm comparing it on 2 different drives that have different capacities, the same file may show up as 2 different sizes on 2 different drives because of the way the sizes are calculated. So I got to make sure I'm comparing it on the same drive. But yeah, the old hash check for authenticity. If there was like a one-click thing to do that, I would. But I'm not going to type all that in. No. Again, I think that's overcomplicated. If I was worried if the file was authentic, that's what that's really for. It's not really for comparing, although it could be used for that. That's not why it's there. It's comparing authentic from not authentic. It's saying, this is the authentic version of this file, and if I download another authentic altered version, there'll be a new hash for that one. So that is a complex way to fix something, and I must emphasize, I am the opposite. I'm the guy that's going to give you the simple way. And the simple way is to just look at the file size. So we're going to revisit this next month. We're going to download that ISO image on or after Patch Tuesday next month. And we'll look at it firsthand. We'll leave it right here on this machine. And we're going to let time prove the truth. And if there is a change to the file size, and we're getting the file from Microsoft, we don't have to do the MD5 hash because we're not getting it from a questionable source. This is a big thing in the Linux world because there's so much wildness in the Linux world. But when we're going right to Microsoft, we're downloading from Microsoft. It's an overkill step, in my opinion. That's overly complex. So I appreciate the tip, but it's one I won't do. It's way too complex. I'm not going to go through those steps. I refuse. But you're not wrong. I don't want to work that hard. Tome mentions if you want easy, get the Windows and Office Genuine ISO verifier. So having to get another tool is not making it easy. It's giving me another crutch. I'm trying to encourage you guys to be independent and self-reliant. If you have to keep downloading utilities to do the job that you can do with your own arms and eyes, your hands and eyes, it's crutches. I'm not here to give you guys crutches. Stand on your own 2 feet. Use your mind. Use logic. That's what I'm here for. I don't want you relying on third-party utilities. That's not making it easier. It's keeping you dumber, in my opinion. So no, I won't recommend that at all. So again, you're not wrong. These aren't processes that I endorse or condone in my business. Now, if any of you have a computer repair business that you go and you have, let's say, several hundred clients that you've been servicing for over 20 years, and you want to challenge me, maybe I'll be able to see how that scales and makes sense. But when you flip it the other way, and I'm telling you on this scale, and you can't see that scale and you can't understand it, doesn't mean I'm wrong. And it doesn't mean that your way's easier. So it's something to keep in mind. Again, we're going to see resistance from people who aren't in the business or used to be in the business, or they learned how to do something 20 years ago and they're not embracing the simple ways. That's a choice. I'm telling you right now, if you think I'm going to endorse old school ways of doing things on this channel that are more complex than the obvious simple thing, you're never going to be happy with the information I provide you. But the information that I provide you is real life business information that keeps my customers happy and coming back. It keeps me getting referred, and it's kept me in business for decades. If you want to dismiss that and challenge it, you have every right to, but you're not going to change my experience, and you're not going to change my mind because you want to put your foot down. I'm not telling you how you have to do it. I'm telling you how I do it. If you don't value the way I do it, don't accept it. But don't challenge me. Because until you're responsible for paying my house payment and paying my car insurance payment and keeping my customers happy, when you take on that responsibility, then that's a different, we'll have a discussion at that point. But right now, from somebody who does all that, I'm telling it to you as a gift. Now, if that gift isn't good enough for you, you're welcome to refuse that gift. That's fine. I'll give it to someone else. Again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what I do. And I'm giving you the reason why I do it. Some people just, they can't accept that. I don't know why. It's very simple. If we download the ISO image next month and the ISO image changes, you will see a difference in the file size. If the ISO doesn't change, you won't see any difference in the file size. This whole idea that there could be some minute little difference where there's a change, but the file size is the same, You're going to have to show me an example of that in real life with a real product where that actually happened, not with something you just manually created to make your imagination say that, look, it's possible. It's not likely. It's very, very, very unlikely that they can make a change and have the exact same file size. It's almost laughably absurd. However, believe what you want. Again, we're talking about real applications from real corporations that are authenticated from the source, not something you contrived. Because you can contrive anything to make true whatever you want to believe. But that doesn't represent reality and the everyday challenges that I face in my business. And MD5 hashes are nothing I've ever had to use in my entire career. I started to use them before I realized what a waste of time they are. If I was in the Linux world, different story. Because of the depositories and the open source nature of it, there's a lot of manipulation and a lot of uncertainty in that kind of an open, anybody can do anything. Not everybody's a good person. Sometimes people make mistakes. And the result of that is the file you download may not be the file you thought you were going to download. And the manipulation that can happen from hackers and such really make those MD5 hashes important in that kind of environment. But in the Windows environment, when we're dealing with Microsoft, it's a non-issue if you're getting your files direct from Microsoft. So there's no reason to overcomplicate it. You know, if I lived in a hilly area and there weren't any paved roads, I might want a 4x4, right? A four-wheel drive, but I don't. Okay, I don't go off-road. So you might say you can't go anywhere without a 4x4. And I'm saying, I don't know what you're talking about. Why would you need to go for? You and I live two different places. We have two different environments. I'm not telling you what you're doing is wrong. I'm saying it doesn't apply to me. That's all I'm trying to say. And let's see if there's any other questions I can answer, and we'll wrap it up otherwise. People want to dig their heels in. I'm not continuing that conversation. Not telling you what to do. Telling you what I do. I don't know how many times I have to say it. Just scrolling back through the chat to see if I've missed anything. Did we ever get a follow up on the BIOS update question? Because I didn't see. John Famler said, Carey, I fixed a CPU fan not working properly last night, hand cleaning the dust off each blade. Yeah, if there's a lot of dust, it can throw the blade off balance and it'll start wobbling and it can make noise, for sure. Yeah, but that would have to be some serious dust. Doesn't sound like it's been cleaned in a long time. I'm still looking for any follow-up to that BIOS question. It's from Michael Beretta. Do we have anything else from Michael? Hobbsville guy wants to know if I still use a Cronus. Absolutely, yes. John says, thank you for all the wisdom you've imparted on all these years. You're very welcome, and thank you for appreciating that I'm sharing with you real life experience from a currently working computer tech who's been in this business nonstop since 1991. I don't have to share it. And if my gift for sharing it is getting into arguments and fights with people just because I voluntarily shared my real world experience and they think they know better than me, I want to go subscribe to their channel because maybe they have so much to teach me. You know, do they only have time to correct me? I don't understand. It really gets under my skin. If you don't like what I'm serving, why do you keep coming back? You know what I mean? Like, the videos aren't made for any particular person. They're made for the community. And if you feel like the community just isn't your cup of tea, I mean, what's stopping you from having your own community? Again, I'm not telling anybody how to do anything. I'm simply telling you how I do it. That's it. That's my purpose behind the channel. My purpose behind having people join in chat is to interact with me in a kind way. If they think they know better, let me go to your channel. That's all I'm saying. Have a channel. Let me see it. Let's see if we flip this the other way and I put myself where you are and you put yourself where I am, how you're going to respond to it. I think that would be an interesting experience. And if you're not willing to do it, pick a lane. Which one you want to be? You want to be a viewer? You want to be a creator? You want to give it to me? Give me the opportunity to give it back. You're so confident, there's no possible way I can have anything to give back. All I can do is watch your content and praise you how smart you are. You think that's going to happen? And how are you going to respond to it? Just think about it the other way around. A little courtesy. I never saw this guy, Michael. I've never seen him before. He comes into the chat, says he's having problems with a new build, motherboard update, won't update the BIOS. Tells us nothing about the board, nothing about the BIOS, nothing about the error, and hasn't said a word since. So did he really want help? Was this whole thing made up? Is it all just a bot? Is it all imagination? Is it all just looking for attention? Or did something happen and he had to leave the video, you know, and he walked away and he hasn't followed up? It's like starting a conversation. Somebody says, hey, how are you? And you say, oh, I'm fine. Wait, where'd they go? I guess they really didn't want to know how I was doing. It's kind of rude. Oh, the cat is coming in telling me it's time to wrap it up. Is that what you're doing? Meow. Meow. She's getting bold. I don't know. May not be too long before she starts jumping up on my workbench here. You checking the quality of my work? She's sniffing around the electronics junkyard of the studio here. She's giving it a good inspection. Are you looking for mice? I want to share with you an email I received from a viewer late last night. He is a great storyteller, and he's been a member of the channel for quite a while, and I don't hear from him very often. But I got this email, and you know, it's this long email, and I just love the way he tells the story, and I want to share it with you because it's a real experience. Okay, it's not something he's copying from Reddit or something like that. All right, it says, well, the cat herder just showed up. Let me grab some thicker. These are for distance. Let me grab something that's a little bit for closer reading here. These are probably too powerful. Okay. Carey, I powered off my laptop in the middle of a firmware update and lived to tell about it. You see, I was using a Dell Latitude 5520 laptop. That's an 11th gen Intel with Windows 11 Pro 25H2, created with Rufus, that you described on your channel. I bought the laptop back in October or November last year off Amazon. It's an off-lease refurbished laptop for under $300, including 16 gigs of RAM, and I considered that a pretty good deal. In fact, I still do. Anyways, I bring the laptop to work sometimes, and I use it mostly to watch YouTube videos, including yours. And yesterday, I just arrived at work and it plugged it in and connected it to our local Wi-Fi. I clicked on Windows Update just out of curiosity, and I got the one current security antivirus file. There didn't appear to be anything else pending, and that was okay. I figured if there was anything needed, it'll come in eventually, probably downloading in the background. About 30 minutes later, I happened to look at the desktop and saw there was an orange dot down in the taskbar area indicating Windows wanted me to schedule a time to restart the system in order for changes to take effect. So something had come in the last 30 minutes, but no big deal. I didn't click on the orange dot. I pressed Alt F4, selected restart, and restart began as expected. It only took a couple minutes to run, and then it was back up as normal. After that had completed, I was gone away from the laptop for about 25 minutes doing other work, but when I came back, I looked at the desktop and saw the screen was showing a Dell firmware update running. I was a little surprised, but not too scared. Firmware updates are always a little scary, even under the best of conditions. But as I continued to look at the screen, I noticed the status bar wasn't moving or changing. It seemed to be stuck at 42%, and over the course, and of course, the text on the screen says, "Do not power off your computer." As each moment passed, I became more and more concerned. Now, with a desktop, you can always do the old hard cool by pulling the power cable. Or you can hold the power button down and wait 10 seconds and pray that things come back up clean. But I couldn't do that with a laptop, especially with this one. When I finally tried to throw caution to the wind, because it just, he's waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. It's just 42%. Nothing else is happening. After a while, it's like there's clearly something wrong, right? So what do I do? So he says, I finally tried to throw caution to the wind and pushed the power button, but nothing happened. I pressed it once, twice, 3 times. I tried holding it in for 10 to 15 seconds. Nothing seemed to matter. I really didn't think it would make a difference, but I had to make the effort. So when I first saw the firmware update, it stopped moving, the status bar. I thought that the job had timed out or locked up, but I've never seen a firmware update stop responding. I didn't think it could or should time out like that. Anyway, to put your mind at ease a little, I just wanted to let you know that I didn't have anything on the PC to lose. I always back up anything I want to save onto a flash drive. I was more scared of losing the motherboard and then deciding if I wanted to risk it. I really didn't think I had any other choice but to proceed with my plan. Luckily, I found a little Phillips head screwdriver that fit the screw heads for the laptop, unplugged the power cord from the wall, tried powering it off, no change. I unplugged the USB-C from the port, tried the power button again, no change. I turned the laptop over, rubbed my hand over the cover to feel if it's getting hot, no heat. My main concern, because the power was on, I didn't want the firmware update, well, it didn't seem to be responding, to keep running or overheat. Makes sense. So what I had to do was disconnect the connection to the battery to get the laptop to shut down. So I unscrewed the screws, got my fingernails underneath the corners, and was able to pry the back cover off the laptop without damaging anything. Once again, I held my hand near the surface of the board and also near the battery. Neither was hot. But one of those black tubes was hot in the little area he's talking about, the heat, the cooler. I saw the pin connector from the battery to the motherboard. I think it was a 10-pin connection. Everything is so tiny, I could barely get my finger on it, let alone find a tool to unpin it. I couldn't even see if it was connected on the side or the top. Even though I needed a flathead and had none, I was able to gently disconnect it with the little Phillips screwdriver he had. And as soon as I did disconnect it, the laptop, I turned the laptop over to verify power, in fact, finally went away. So yes, now the power was off, and I was relieved and scared at the same time. I was relieved I'd stopped the laptop from overheating, but now scared that since I may have killed the board by interrupting a firmware update. Now, in the back of my mind, I kept thinking that it didn't kill the board because the job had stopped running. At least that's what it looked like. But I didn't have any proof of that. So I was thinking the job had timed out, was non-responsive, and I killed the job, the non-responsive job, hopefully, and not the board. So the next thing I did is plug the battery back in, turn the laptop over, see if the power light was off or on. Power button was not lit. Okay, that's a relief. At least it was not a locked key. Okay. Put the back cover back on, but I didn't put the screws back in it. Turn the laptop over, laid it flat, pressed the power button, and waited. After 2 to 3 seconds, there was a Dell response on the screen stating it detected an interruption to the firmware update and that it would auto-start again. The firmware update ran like any other update. But I was wondering what would happen when it got to that 42%. Are we going to just go through a loop here? But it reached and passed that part and continued as normal, and it was successful. Then the Dell screen appeared as normal. The Windows toilet bowl showed up, and then then my username appeared at the splash screen to the Windows desktop. The screen went black for a second, a couple seconds, but then it came back. I thought there might be some kind of repair going on, so I just left it. Or maybe I was missing a driver. I was really starting to get nervous. I pressed the space bar. Oh, that's what it was. The screen went black. So he sees the login appear, but before he has a chance to address it, the screen goes black. And he's waiting for the screen to come back. It doesn't come back. And he's like, uh-oh. So he just touches the space bar. Yeah, the laptop went to sleep on him. So it was fine. He goes, what a time for the laptop to go to sleep. Anyway, the laptop seems to be working normally. I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. It's an off-lease refurbished laptop, and I feel pretty confident about the Dell name, but you never really know what you're in for. Kind of like buying a used car. I was pretty excited at having survived this type of event. Of course, it could have gone as badly as expected, but I guess I lucked out. Excuse me. Amen to that. And that's from our friend Thomas Kukela out there in California. I really appreciate it. I love how he wrote that story. I felt like I was right there with him at the edge of my seat the whole time. And yeah, you're very unlikely to ever experience that, but it's possible that during an update, something causes the update to freeze up. And, you know, if it's a mini PC or, you know, one of these knockoff type inexpensive PCs, it may never boot again, even though you didn't do anything wrong. But it's a Dell and it's designed for auto recovery, and so it just auto recovered. And it's not saying a mini PC wouldn't auto recover, but statistically, you're more likely for a name brand Dell, HP, Lenovo to auto recover for something like that. And the odds of you even experiencing that to begin with are extremely low. But yeah, scary stuff. Jim Kenny said, I watched the first 2 videos you mentioned. It worked perfectly. My USB was formatted in NTFS, not FAT32. What's that in reference to? I don't recall. Are you saying you had a problem with a BIOS update once, and it was because the BIOS wouldn't see the update because the BIOS required the flash drive in FAT32? But you're not the one who asked the question. That's why I'm a little confused what this is in reference to. I'm just looking to see if you posted something prior to that that I didn't see. Oh, Jim's talking. I guess Jim had asked me about a BIOS update. Maybe was it an email question or something we talked about in a video? And I advised you to take a look at 2 videos that showed and walked through the process. You know, Mike's Unboxing, Repairs, and How To has a lot of, as well as Planet Cryos, a lot of BIOS update walkthroughs. And sometimes it's easier to just point somebody to the video than to type it all out. So I guess I sent Jim 2 videos to watch and to follow the steps in those videos. And he said, okay, now this is a follow-up from last month. I watched the 2 videos you mentioned and it worked perfectly. The issue was he had formatted the USB in NTFS and not FAT32. Okay, there you go. In general, it's always best anytime you flash a BIOS to always use FAT32 because it will work universally across any computer. NTFS will only work on some. But where NTFS will work on some, FAT32 will work universally. So just, you know, going forward, whenever you update a BIOS on any board, on any computer, laptop, anything, mini PC, always format FAT32 regardless. Even if NTFS is an option, FAT32 is universal. Also, the BIOS instructions will often specify, and they're usually pretty short instructions. If you want to do this, get a flash drive, format it as FAT, and they usually have screenshots and they walk you through it. But if you're like me and you're not reading the directions, you know, I don't blame you. Mark Leibowitz said, I have experienced 3 BIOS updates that caused permanent damage, all on HP computers that were long out of warranty. One was left unusable and unrecoverable, and the other 2 showed BIOS errors ever after. Interesting. Wow. I will say I see a lot more issues where people are asking for help online with old computers, like 10+ years old. And the people asking for help on newer machines, few and far between by comparison. So I think it's easy to conclude that the older your computer is, the more likely and more often you'll be asking for help with it, and that these ideas that a BIOS update would fail seem more likely on old machines. Supreme Nerd said it's been said for years not to mess with the BIOS unless you absolutely need to. Well, it depends what we're talking about. If we're going back 20, 30 years, BIOS updates were very easy to get wrong. BIOS updates were not as self-protective. The motherboards themselves are not as self-protective 20 years ago than they are today. In general, if you're an average computer user, I'd say leave it alone. If you're a technical person who knows what you're doing, I, for example, will update a BIOS on any customer's computer that comes in here. Laptop, mini PC, I don't care if it's 6 months old, if they just bought it, or if it's 10 years old. I always do everything the same because I'm an experienced computer technician. And the reason I update the BIOS is I don't want to wait until it's needed to have the system come back again and after research to find out the problem is a BIOS update. Many BIOS updates right now are occurring for security purposes. So if you wait until the system's been infected, and the way you prevent the infection is by updating the BIOS, I have the perspective of let's put the BIOS in now so we don't have that problem in the future. We're removing the possibility. If we don't update the BIOS, and you can choose to be proactive or you can choose to be reactive. As a professional computer technician, I know exactly what I'm doing and I take full accountability and financial responsibility for my actions. If you're a home user, unless you're willing to accept responsibility for your actions, then you shouldn't do it, period. So there isn't a universal one-size-fits-all blanket statement that I can say you should or you shouldn't. But I will say BIOS updates, especially on HPs and Dells and Lenovo's, they're going to happen whether you like it or not. They go right through Windows Update now. They don't involve any user interaction. If you want to manually go and do it yourself, and you're not very experienced, plan for potentially bricking your board and determining if it's worth the risk. That's up to you. How else are you going to get the experience if you don't do it? Is it that important to you? Otherwise, if everything's working, leave it alone. And when you have a problem, then you can come someplace like here and ask for help. Proactive or reactive is your choice. Pros and cons. There's pros and cons to being proactive. There's pros and cons to being reactive. As a business owner, I don't make much money being reactive to problems that were avoidable. But I don't go so far as to be so proactive as to avoid problems that are highly unlikely to begin with. When we're dealing with security and BIOSes, when we're dealing with UEFI certificates, boot certificates and things like that, I don't need a bunch of customers calling me all on the same day with the same problem, because there's only one of me and I can't handle all 20 at the same time. You're at home with your own personal computer. It only affects you. I can't make that decision for you. Whatever fits out, whatever fits well with you. But I will say that the BIOS updates of today, the motherboards of today, I should say, won't even let you put the wrong BIOS on. They won't allow it. So as long as you don't unplug it or interfere with it, if you just leave it alone, you're probably going to be fine. You know, fear is something that's caused by a lack of experience. Once you have the experience, the fear goes away. And if you don't want the experience, if it doesn't interest you, you probably should be afraid of it. It's natural. But back in the 90s and the early 2000s, you better have known what you were doing when you were updating the BIOS, because the motherboards would take anything. It didn't matter. There was no cross-checking if the BIOS was for that board or if the BIOS was fully intact. Now the BIOSes do all that for you. There are still some old school, you know, BIOSes on some of the cheap mini PCs that still flash that old-fashioned way where they'll let you put anything on it. But when you're with a name brand computer or with a name brand motherboard like ASRock, Asus, MSI, and Gigabyte, they won't even allow you to put the wrong BIOS on it. You'd have to really do it on purpose. But yeah, if it's a mini PC, you know, even the mini Swarm BIOSes can be tricky to install. So they're still using an old school method on the mini PCs. And like I say, Dell, HP, Lenovo, a lot of times your BIOS updates are coming through Windows Update. Whether or not you like it, doesn't matter. And it's their responsibility, right? So if they screw it up, you call them or you email and contact their support for holding them accountable. If I'm walking somewhere and let's say it's known that there's a lot of pickpockets in the area, I'm going to take my wallet and I'm going to put it in my front pocket. You understand? I'm going to be proactive. I'm not going to wait till my wallet's stolen and then go, oh, how can I prevent that in the future? I don't want it to happen. And if there's a high likelihood, if it's well known that you're visiting a touristy area, and particularly in Europe, in Rome and places like this, in Italy, where pickpocketing in Paris, it's very, very common. So there'll be warnings to tourists. There are pickpockets, right? The last thing you want to do, they'll put a sign up. It'll say, warning, you're in an area with pickpockets. Please watch your stuff, right? What does the tourist do? They check their stuff. They look at the sign and they immediately, to all the thieves that are watching, they could have binoculars. They check their jewelry, they check their watch, they make sure they have them. And now the thief knows, because they watched you, what you consider valuable and what to steal from you if they decide to come after you. So thieves have been known to take those signs and move them where they want to be able to not have as many people around, and they can just mug you, basically. They don't have to be discreet about it because there's nobody around. And the tourist sees the sign and they, yeah, I got everything. And the thief is watching, going, yeah, that's everything they checked. That's exactly where we need to get in and get out quick. So I would rather plan ahead and be proactive rather than wait till they see the sign and then go, oh, I should do something, not knowing I'm being watched. You see what I'm getting at? Proactive versus reactive. That's all. doesn't guarantee you're avoiding a problem. It's just making you less likely, statistically, less likely to be a victim or something that was very, very, it was likely. The more far-fetched it is, the more I'm not worried about it. And Jim Kinney says he had a gigabyte motherboard. The BIOS update was for security, and that's why I did it. Yep. Well, again, every system that rolls in here, whether it's a new build or repair or an upgrade, the system that came in for a power supply, I check the light, make sure it has the latest BIOS while I've got it. I don't wait for a reason to do it, because then I'm being reactive. Then I'm dealing with a problem that has to be diagnosed. If I put the BIOS on, that prevents a problem from ever occurring as a result. How would I know? Ignorance is bliss, right? System just works. Is it because I updated the BIOS? We'll never know. I prefer that, me personally. But that's just the way I run my business. And I've had enough experience in the past that evolved to coming to this conclusion that works for me and my business. All right, guys, thank you again for watching. I hope you found the video helpful and useful. Again, the optimizer, the link for that is in the video notes. We'll have links to the Windows 11 download and Rufus download, but always be sure to download the latest Rufus and the latest. If you're going to use the media installation tool, always use the latest version. Don't keep them, don't reuse them. Even if it's just one day, you don't know when Microsoft updates it. So just, it's free, it's small, it takes a second to download. There's no sense hoarding this anymore. You can if you want to. I don't advise it. Thank you to everybody for contributing and being members. Thank you for the gift cards from Mark Gaines, our friend Buster out there in Scotland. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We have our members only video scheduled tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So for our members, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, 1 p.m. Phoenix time. Currently, that's 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, and I hope you'll join us. With regards to the rest of the week, don't know yet. There's still a lot. We're waiting on a few things, and we did receive something to review that we can't review, and I'll tell the members about that tomorrow. In the meantime, there's other things still yet coming. I don't know when they're going to be here. Hopefully they'll be here sooner rather than later. And we will be live one way or the other for everybody publicly on Friday. Always live on Fridays, no matter what. Hopefully I'll have something to review, but otherwise, we may do another sort of how-to video. So thank you for watching. If you want to reach out to us at any time, we love hearing from our viewers. If you want to share an experience with us, we love hearing your, like the whole BIOS story. Real stories that you personally experienced, or your experience with a product. Doesn't have to be good or bad, just real, that you personally experienced, and you want to share that. If you need help with a problem, email us. That way we can go back and forth with asking the questions we need that are very rarely volunteered. We have to interrogate to get the information, but once we have it, we go back and forth in email, we get the information we need. We have almost a 100% success rate for the people who reach out. It's got to be damn near close. So we love hearing from you. That's how you reach us right there in Sable the Cat. We'll get right back to you. Thank you for watching. Thanks to Mara, of course. You did a great job, as always, on our thumbnail, our video links. And thank you to all the members who make these videos possible. That'll wrap it up for me for today. I look forward to seeing the members tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And until then, bye for now.